We're here today. Let me put up the how's the background music? The ambiance. The ambiance I'm using today is called Relaxing Meadow with Ambient Nature Sounds, Wildflowers, and Mountain View. Hello! Pretty good? Okay, good. Made it a little bit higher. My voice is still a little bit funny, but not like bad funny. Like too funny. Oh, so it must be in Wind Clan territory. Yeah, this must be what Wind Clan sounds like. Except maybe not as much nature because they kill it all and eat it in their tummies. Wow, woo woo. I feel like I was... Oh, yeah. Sorry I guys didn't stream on Monday or Tuesday. Monday, I wasn't going to stream. But on Tuesday, I was thinking about streaming. But then my roommate got really, really sick from me getting sick. And I didn't want to, like, make noise and racket while she was sleeping and resting. I got her sick. It's really sad. What else? What else? It's been 2 weeks since Warrior Cats Wednesday, so I'm really, really excited. But that means that we have to do like a really big summary because we ended on chapter 10 last time, which was I read so much. I read 150 pages almost last time on my first time reading because I love it. So let's just get into it because I want to read a lot today. And I don't know how long my voice is going to be able to hold up. So, yeah. So what happened last time? Last time we met the new trio, the new pro tags, J Kit, Lion Kit, and Holly Kit. They are Brambleclaw and Squirrel Flight's kids. We started with them being like, you know, they're just kids, and I guess there's some badgers in the there's some badgers. Wait, is it badgers? Yeah. So they found a scent of badgers or something, and J-Kid is blind, so he can't see, but J-Kid's blind, so he can't see. But he can smell really, really well. So the three kids decided they're gonna head out of the camp. They're gonna track down this badger nest and kill the babies. And so with J-Kit's superior nose skills, they managed to track it down before all the other patrols. They went to go invade it and then found out that the badgers were actually old enough to kill them. So they all ran away. As they ran away, J-Kit got lost and fell off the side of the hollow and like busted himself. He got sent to the medicine cat den. Holly Kit and Leaf Kit, I'm not Leaf Kit, and Lion Kit got like punished, sort of. I guess they weren't allowed to go anywhere without telling any of the queens in the nursery where they were going, which they broke. In the end, Lion Kit snuck out and he wanted to overhear some stuff. And, oh my god, I forget what he heard. He overheard, like, some gossip. He overheard some gossip with Ash Fur and Dustpelt, I think, maybe? I can't remember. Let me see. Shadow Clan. Shadow Clan? Oh, there's like a new border stuff going on. Thank you for the like silver. There was like Oh, they gave, I guess ThunderClan gave some of their territory up to ShadowClan because it was like a weird barren territory and it was just easier to like line, I guess. I don't know. It was a straighter line, so they gave it to ShadowClan. Something about what? ShadowClan thinking that they can take whatever they want. Oh, that we found out that nobody actually knows what happened with Hawkfrost. There was a cover-up story that went down. So we know what happened. We know what went down. Brambleclaw. So I guess the only cats that know what happened are Brambleclaw, Ashfur, Firestar, and Hawkfrost. And Hawkfrost is dead. So the cover-up story was Firestar found Hawkfrost's body on patrol with Brambleclaw and Ashfur, when in reality, Hawkfrost almost killed Firestar. So they were able to like cover that up. What else? Oh, and also they accused Stormfur of not being a real ThunderClan warrior because, I don't know, they're weirdos. And that's still a hot topic of... Apparently, that's still a hot topic. Stormfur and Brooke after, like, I don't know how many seasons. Technically speaking, they got kicked out of... They got kicked out of RiverClan at the very least 6 months ago. Because J-Kit, Leaf-Kit, I'm not Leaf-Kit. Why do I always say Leaf-Kit? J-Kit, Holly-Kit, and Lion-Kit had to have been, you know, made. So they had to be born and then they had to be 6 moons old. So it's at least 6 moons since Stormfur and Brooke have moved into ThunderClan, which is so dumb. Like, what the heck? Why are you over it by now? Aside from that drama, they got made apprentices. They're also grouchy. So Holly-Kit became Hollypaw, J-Kit, J-Paw, and Lion-Kit, Lionpaw. Lionpaw's mentor is Ashfur, I believe. So Lionpaw's with Ashfur. Hollypaw wanted to be a medicine cat, and Leafpool agreed. So Hollypaw is now a medicine cat apprentice, and J-Paw is a warrior in training with Brightheart as his mentor. And he was not happy about that at all because he's like, wow, they gave me to her. Then what happened? Oh, and then I guess Brightheart wasn't really helping J-Paw. Helping J-Paw? Hello, how's you? I'm good, Xinhua! Yeah, J-Paw actually said that too. J-Paw was like, I bet she hoped that her first apprentice was a normal one, you know? She is trying her hardest. I hope you're good. So, yeah, Brightheart is taking things very slowly because she is cautious, right? She's still trying to figure out how to work things out with J-Paw. But J-Paw is very impatient. He doesn't like where this training is going, which is nowhere as far as he's concerned. So he rushes off. I don't even know what he's trying to do. I think maybe he's just trying to explore the territory a little bit better, because they weren't getting any. And then he fell into the river near Wind Clan and he got swept away, and a patrol found him, a Wind Clan patrol. Crowfeather was there and pulled him out, and then Crowfeather, because he still has doki feelings for Leafpool. Actually, I don't know. There's just like a weird tension between them now. So Crowfeather escorted him all the way to camp and then all the way to the medicine cat den where J-Paw could get treated for, like, just checked over, make sure he's okay and stuff. And then Crowfeather and Leafpool had a really awkward convo. They're like, so, how are things? Good. How's your mate? Pretty good. My son's an apprentice now. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. All right, bye, Leafpool. Bye, Crowfeather. That was the extent of their conversation. And then J-Paw was sitting there like, the heck is happening right now? He's like, hello? And that's actually where we ended. Let me see. Yeah. Let me read the last bit of that just to... Sup, that's a cool character. Thank you! Goomy! What a cute name. Goomy is a very cute name. Reminds me of, well, the Pokemon, but also in Splatoon with the Woomy. Woomy! You know? Okay, so I'm gonna read the last page before chapter 10, which is where we ended off last time. And yeah, if you're new here, thank you for the follow, Goomy. Every Wednesdays I read Warrior Cats, which is this book right here. So it's gonna be a really chill stream. I don't really talk to chat during each chapter. Sometimes I do, just to like remark on what the heck is going on, or if someone says something funny and I happen to look at it. But other than that, I'll just be reading. So make yourself comfortable. Comfortable. Leafpool knows the oh my gosh. Also, disclaimer. It's been 2 weeks since I've read, and usually when I first start reading, I forget how to read. So it takes me like at least a chapter to remember how to read again. So if I'm stumbling a lot, that's why. Leafpool knows the time leaves towards J-Paw. The time will calm him and help with the shock, she explained. She licked J-Paw's cheek. Eat them all, she encouraged. They don't taste too bad, and I'll send Hollypaw for a nice fresh mouse to wash the taste away once you've begun to warm up. J-Paw swallowed the leaves without complaint. He felt too cold and tired to object to anything. He let his eyes close and felt the warmth of his sister's body seep into his. He was still vaguely aware of the piercing emotion that raced between Crowfeather and Leafpool, but even that slid away as he slipped into the comforting stillness of sleep. Chapter 10. The cute! Reading's been going well. It's too many more moans. There's so many more months. Oh, months. Yeah, I under. Chapter 10. Lionpaw glanced up at the moon shining full and bright into the hollow. Clouds aren't going to stop this gathering. Dustpelt, Spiderleg, and Ashfur were already waiting by the camp entrance. Firestar stood beneath the high ledge with Sandstorm and Brambleclaw, talking quietly to them. Why are we all hanging about? Hollypaw fussed, tearing the grass with her thorn-sharp claws. It can't be much longer, Lionpaw mewed. He felt every bit as excited as his sister. This was their first gathering, their first chance to meet apprentices from rival clans, to swap stories and compare training, knowing that the next time they met might be in battle, with claws unsheathed and teeth bared. Looks like Firestar's waiting for Leafpool, Hazelpaw put in. What's taking her so long? Hollypaw complained. She's only sorting through the new herbs we gathered before Sunhigh. She might sort them quicker if she had her apprentice helping, Fairy Paw pointed out. I tried helping, Holly Paw protested, but Leaf Paw said it would be quicker if she did them herself. Mouse Paw's whiskers twitched. Are you sure you're cut out to be a medicine cat? Of course I am, Holly Paw snapped. One day you'll be waiting for me to come out of the medicine cat den. They're only teasing you, Lion Paw soothed her. He thought it was odd that Daisy's kits were all going to the gathering, while the clan-born kits, Cinderpaw, Honeypaw, and Poppypaw, were staying behind. I guess it's only fair, he decided. 3 clan-born apprentices and 3 non-clan, he sighed. At least it would have been 3, if only. He looked at J-Paw, crouching in the entrance of their den, and sighed. He had been sitting there since sundown, forbidden to go to the gathering as punishment for the adventure that had ended with him half drowning in the lake. Now he glowered angrily out of the shadows, his sightless eyes fixed on his brother and sister joking with Daisy's kits as they waited to leave. Why did he have to be so reckless? It was harder now that they were apprentices. Lionpaw's duties kept him so busy that he could not keep an eye on J-Paw, as he used to when they were kits. He felt a flash of guilt, but pushed it quickly away. His first responsibility was his clan. J-Paw would have to learn to be more sensible. He padded over to his brother and smoothed the fur between his ears with his tongue. I wish you were coming, he mewed. You're the only one who does, J-Paw grumbled. You know that's not true, Lionpaw argued. It's your own fault you've been confined to camp. Perhaps Firestar just doesn't want a blind cat at the gathering. What do you mean? I mean, it doesn't look good having an apprentice like me in the clan, J-Paw growled. Was that true? Before Lionpaw could say anything, he heard Firestar's call. I have to go, he told J-Paw, but I'll tell you all about it when we get back. He ran after the other apprentices, who were already racing towards the entrance. Firestar padded to the head of the party and, with a sharp nod, bounded away through the tunnel. Lionpaw charged after his clanmates, his heart soaring as their paws drummed the forest floor. He felt Hollypaw's pelt brushing his, rippling with excitement. A moment later, they burst out of the tunnel and charged up the slope. They raced past Sky Oak and down to the lake. The pebbles on the shore clattered beneath their paws. The stones grazed Lionpaw's pads, but he didn't care. He could hardly see the island on the far side. He could already see the island on the far side, rising from the water, crowded with trees. Their slender, leafless branches reached up to the star-pricked sky, trembling like whiskers, and Lionpaw flicked his tail excitedly. As the cats began the long trek through Wind Clan territory, Firestar steadied the pace. They passed the horse place where Daisy used to live and crossed into River Clan territory, always keeping within 5 tail lengths from the waterline, as agreed by all the clans. The ground became muddier as they neared the island. Lionpaw slowed down after he nearly slipped. He didn't want to arrive covered in mud. He could make out dark shapes streaming over the fallen tree bridge that gapped between the shore and the island. The scent of Wind Clan mingled with the scents of Shadow Clan and River Clan. The other clans were arriving. Will you mention the border markers? Lionpaw heard... Will you mention the border markers? Lionpaw heard his father meow. He peered past Mousepaw and Spiderleg and saw Brambleclaw keeping pace with Firestar. Do you mean the fact that Shadow Clan and Wind Clan have marked every tree and blade of grass on our borders? Firestar asked. Yes, Brambleclaw replied. I can't dictate what other clans do in their territory, Firestar reminded him. But it's an open show of hostility, Brambleclaw growled. We're not going to react, Firestar told him. Yet. Firestar's right. Astra hurried to catch up with them. It would be better to send out more frequent border patrols than give the other clans the satisfaction of knowing they've got us worried. It takes more than the stench of Shadow Clan to worry us, Firestar declared. He broke into a run, bounding the last few tail lengths to the fallen tree, and skidded to a halt by the withered roots. Lionpaw stared up at the trunk that bridged the water between the shore and the island. The air was filled with the scents of Wind Clan, Shadow Clan, and River Clan. We must be the last to arrive, he whispered to Hollypaw. Suddenly, he felt shy about facing all three clans at once. Do you suppose Ferncloud's nursery stories about Shadow Clan are true? You don't actually believe they let their elders starve, do you? Hollypaw mewed scornfully. Well, no, Linepaw murmured. But what if all the other apprentices are bigger than us? We've been apprentices for only a quarter moon, Hollypaw pointed out. There are bound to be some apprentices bigger than us. Firestar leapt up onto the fallen trunk, picked his way carefully across to the far shore, and jumped down. The pebbles swished beneath his paws as he turned to watch his clanmates cross over. Brambleclaw followed him, then Dustpaw, and before he knew it, Lionpaw was watching Hollypaw leap up ahead of him onto the tree. The smooth, black waterbed flowed beneath her, lapping gently at the dead branches that held the tree fast in the lake bed. She weaved her way through the stubby twigs and knots until she reached the other end. Then she jumped down and turned to watch Lionpaw cross. Trembling with excitement, he scrambled up onto the branch. The bark was surprisingly slippery, and his paws slithered in all directions. He felt the tree jerk and looked back to see that Ashfur had leapt up behind him. Ahead of him was a jutting shard of bark where a smaller branch had once sprouted. He curved his body around it, keeping his eye fixed firmly on the far end of the tree. Suddenly, his forepaw slipped and his paw shot off from the trunk. He felt himself begin to fall and stared in horror at the water shining cold and dark beneath him. A gray pelt flashed behind him, and Linepaw felt the nudge of a muzzle against his flank. It pushed him up, supporting him until he regained his balance. His mentor had saved him from a humiliating start to his first gathering. Thanks, Linepaw gasped. It's always tricky the first time, Ashfur meowed. Linepaw unsheathed his claws and gripped the trunk like a squirrel the rest of the way. He jumped down onto the beach, happy to be on solid ground once more. The pebbles felt good on his tingling pads. Thought you were fish food for a moment there, Hollypaw welcomed him. Me too, Linepaw purred. He longed to race into the trees, impatient to see what was there, but he forced himself to wait while the others crossed. Hazelpaw weaved her way among the jutting twigs. Berrypaw pushed his way through with powerful shoulders, while Spiderleg slipped around them like a snake, clearly accustomed to the crossing. Linepaw felt very small and inexperienced, but he lifted his chin and forced his fur to lie flat. Finally, all the ThunderClan cats stood on the beach. Firestar swept his gaze over them, then, with a silent nod, turned and padded into the trees. At last! Linepaw raced between the shadowy trunks, breaking and scraping at his pelt. His ears twitched with anticipation as the trees thinned and a clearing opened up ahead. There were cats everywhere. Linepaw had never seen so many different shades of pelts. Some were light, some broad-shouldered. Most seemed much bigger than him. There were more cats here than Linepaw had imagined could live around the lake, and these were just a few from each clan. At the far edge of the clearing, with the lake behind it sparkling distantly through the leaf-bare forest, he saw the great oak, the center of every gathering. Is it what you expected? Hollypaw whispered. I didn't realize there would be so many cats. Linepaw stared at a RiverClan Tom, his pelt so slick that it shone in the moonlight as he flexed his well-muscled shoulders. Imagine meeting him in battle. I'm going to train twice as hard from now on. How can you be thinking about fighting? Hollypaw scolded. There's a truce tonight. You should be trying to work out whether he thinks like a ThunderClan warrior. Her eyes narrowed. If you know how your enemy thinks, then you've already won half the battle. Linepaw glanced sideways at his sister. Where did she come up with this stuff? Here he was, wondering if he could match any of these cats in a fight, and she was already working out battle strategies like she was a clan leader. Mousepaw's eyes twinkled. Why not go and ask him? Hollypaw gasped. Can we really just go up and talk to any cat? Well, Mousepaw cautioned, you'd be better off talking to the apprentices. He dipped his head towards a group of smaller RiverClan cats. The warriors from the other clans aren't dangerous or anything, but they won't be pleased to have some young apprentice pestering them. What if they talk to us? Linepaw asked. Just be polite and don't give out too much information, Hazelpaw warned. Some of the warriors might use your inexperience to find out what's happening in ThunderClan. Did you spill any secrets on your first gathering, Mousepaw? Hollypaw asked. Of course not. Mousepaw sniffed. Yeah, right. Berrypaw interjected sarcastically. If I hadn't clumped my tail over your mouth, you would have told Russet Fur that Firestar was about to give up land by the river before Firestar had a chance to announce it himself. But she's the Shadow Clan deputy, Mousepaw argued. I couldn't just ignore her. You didn't have to tell her your clan's whole history either, Berrypaw mewed, his whiskers twitching. Well, Hollypaw mewed suddenly. I'm gonna see what everyone else is talking about. She began to head towards the group of wide-eyed River Clan apprentices when a small, pale tabby came hurling towards her across the clearing. Hollypaw! It was the River Clan Medicine Cat apprentice, her bright green eyes flashing in the moonlight. Hi, Willowpaw! Hollypaw stopped to greet her. Willowpaw skidded to a halt and stared at her in delight. Mothwing told me that you're Leafpool's apprentice now. Hollypaw dipped her head. That's right. That's great! Willowpaw mewed. Have you had your first dream from StarClan yet? No, not yet. I bet you do soon, Willowpaw assured her. Come on! She swept her tail around Hollypaw. I'll introduce you to the other medicine cats. Willowpaw led Hollypaw towards where Leafpool was sharing tongues with a group of cats. Lionpaw felt a flash of envy. As a medicine cat apprentice, her sister would have a special connection with all the clans. He shuffled his paws nervously as he gazed at the strange faces around him. Then he remembered that the truce lasted only for one night. These cats were his enemies. There was no point making friends. His duty was to get to know them so he knew their strengths and their weaknesses when he met them in battle. I'm gonna talk to Hairpaw, Berrypaw announced. I'm coming too, Hazelpaw mewed. Linepaw, alone now with Mousepaw, glanced around the clearing. He spotted a tightly clustered group of cats watching from the foot of the great oak. The shadows disguised the color of their pelts, and something about the way their eyes shone in the gloom made him shudder. Are they Shadow Clan? He whispered to Mousepaw. Mousepaw nodded. Don't let them scare you. They like to look like they're the enemies with all the world. But once you start talking to them, they're okay. Are you sure? Linepaw wasn't entirely convinced, but Mousepaw didn't hear him. Minnowpaw! He mewed. He was staring at a young gray and white River Clan she-cat whose pelt looked as downy as Kit's fur. She barely looks out of the nursery, Linepaw remarked. Mousepaw's ears twitched. She's a whole moon older than me, he corrected. Come and talk to her, he went on. You'll see she's not as soft as she looks. Linepaw followed Mousepaw over to where Minnowpaw sat with two more River Clan apprentices, one gray and one brown tabby. His nose twitched as he scented them. He knew the stench of Shadow Clan and Wind Clan from the border markings, but River Clan's fresh, fish-tinged scent smelled strange. Minnowpaw nodded to them in welcome. Though she was slighter and softer in looks than her clanmates, her amber eyes were sharp and intelligent. Who's your friend? She asked Mousepaw. Mousepaw was staring at her with wistful look in his eyes. He's a little smitten for the other cat. This is Linepaw. Hello, Linepaw, mewed Minnowpaw. This is Pouncepaw. She nodded towards the brown tabby she-cat beside her. And Pebblepaw. She flicked her tail towards the gray tom. What do you think of the island? Pouncepaw asked. It's great, Linepaw replied. We can show you around if you like, Minnowpaw offered. Mousepaw's eyes lit up. Clearly he liked the idea of a starlit stroll with the pretty apprentice. But Linepaw would rather explore the place for himself, especially if Mousepaw was going to be round-eyed and moony over Minnowpaw the whole time. Thanks for the offer, he mewed, but Mousepaw promised to introduce me to some of the other cats. Mousepaw gazed at him blankly. Have I? Come on! Linepaw prompted before Mousepaw could object. He patted away from the group and Mousepaw sighed, but followed him across the clearing. Suddenly, a soft voice sounded in his ear. Are you J-Paw's brother? He swung around to find a light brown tabby she-cat gazing at him with the eyes the color of a late afternoon sky. Yes? He stammered. How did you know? Berrypaw told me. I'm Heatherpaw, by the way. Because your eyes are the color of heather. Now it's Linepaw's turn. J-Paw might have mentioned me, Heatherpaw went on. I was there when Crowfeather saved him from drowning. Has he recovered? Linepaw forced himself to stop gaping like a startled rabbit. J-Paw? He echoed. Oh, he's fine now. Is he here? Heatherpaw inquired. Linepaw was having trouble remembering where any of his littermates were right now. Not this time, Mousepaw answered for him, sounding impatient. These boys. I still can't believe he was all alone when he's blind, Heatherpaw breathed. He must be so brave. Linepaw felt a twinge of envy. Most of the time he's just grumpy, he told her, especially now that he's been confined to the camp for a quarter moon. Poor J-Paw, Heatherpaw sympathized. I'd be miserable if I were to be stuck in camp. Me too, Linepaw agreed. How long have you been an apprentice? Heatherpaw asked. Since quarter moon. What about you? For a moon and a half now, she replied. This is my second gathering. Have you met Mousepaw before? Linepaw asked, sensing that his clanmate was growing restless and casting longing glances back to the River Clan apprentices. We've never spoken, Heatherpaw confessed, but I saw him last time talking to Russitfer. She looked at Mousepaw. Did Russitfer get any information out of you? She tried to from me, but fortunately Crowfeather had warned me not to give anything away. Before Mousepaw could answer, a black tom with amber eyes trotted up to them. We ought to join our clan. Who the heck is this? He told Heatherpaw gruffly, ignoring the ThunderClan apprentices. The meeting's about to begin. Oh. This is Breezepaw, Heatherpaw told Mousepaw and Linepaw. He's our newest apprentice. Her whiskers twitched, though you couldn't tell from his manners. He's been trying to boss the other apprentices from the moment he went from kit to a paw. Breezepaw stared furiously at her. The tip of his tail flicked from side to side. Don't worry, Breezepaw, Heatherpaw went on. You'll be a warrior before you know it, and then you can boss all the apprentices around. Breezepaw narrowed his eyes, clearly unsure whether she was being serious or not. Heatherpaw glanced at Linepaw, then whispered loud enough for Breezepaw to hear. He thinks that I have to do what he says because of his father. Crowfeather is my mentor. You know Crowfeather would never... Breezepaw started to object. Oh, come on, Breezepaw, Heatherpaw pleaded. Lighten up! She gave his flank a nudge with her muzzle, then turned back to Linepaw. It's hard to believe, but Breezepaw can be great fun on a good day. A commanding meow sounded from the great oak. We meet beneath Silverpelt. That's One Star calling for the meeting to start, Heatherpaw gasped. Linepaw swung around and saw the 4 clan leaders sitting like owls in the lowest branch of the trees. One Star, the lithe brown tabby who led Wind Clan, was speaking. Commanded by the truce of the full moon. Breezepaw flashed Heatherpaw a look that said, told you so, and hurried away to join the rest of his clan. Heatherpaw rolled her eyes at Linepaw, then followed her clanmate. Feeling more confident now, Linepaw joined the cats gathering around the base of the oak. He weaved among his clanmates till he found a space between Hollypaw and Spiderleg. Firestar sat beside One Star on the branch. One Star announced, Breezepaw. The black-pelted apprentice lifted his chin, apparently quite undaunted by having cats from all 4 clans turning to stare at him. Linepaw's heart began to race. He hoped he could act so coolly when it was his turn to be named. Leaf Bear has been kind to us this last moon, One Star went on. The rabbits are running, but not too fast to catch, and the windy weather has made hunting hard for the buzzards and hawks, which leaves more prey for us. An alarming thought struck Linepaw. Would One Star mention J-Paw's intrusion on Wind Clan territory? He leaned forward, ears pricked. Other than that, One Star went on, Wind Clan has nothing important to report. Linepaw glanced, relieved, at Hollypaw. She leaned against him. Thank StarClan he didn't say anything about J-Paw, she whispered. One Star turned to Black Star, nodding for him to speak next. Shadow Clan has 1 new apprentice too, Black Star began. He looked down at the wiry brown she-cat sitting among the Silver Clan, the Shadow Clan warriors. Ivypaw. Ivypaw nodded, her eyes narrowed. She didn't look pleased or proud to be announced as a new apprentice, as Breezepaw had. Did Shadow Clan cats ever show their feelings? Linepaw wondered. He felt Hollypaw fidget beside him. Her eyes were shimmering with excitement. Our turn next, she breathed. But Black Star was not finished. Hunting has been good for Shadow Clan since we enlarged our territory. Lionpaw stiffened as he heard the gasp from ThunderClan warriors around him. Was Blackstar really gonna make out that they had seized the land by the river from ThunderClan? Our new stretch of territory is a great source of prey, Blackstar meowed. Liar. Spiderleg muttered under his breath. Firestar would have never given it up if it were. ShadowClan would like to thank Firestar for his generosity in granting it to us, Blackstar finished with a poisonous gratitude. Firestar stared levelly at him. I'm pleased to hear that you're getting so much out of that piece of land. That piece of land prey poor by ThunderClan standards, he meowed. Hoo-hoo! Yes! Hollypaw hissed. A subtle ripple of approval passed through the ThunderClan cats. Then Firestar turned his gaze to the crowd. ThunderClan are fortunate to have more than one. He lingered over the word. No apprentices this moon. Lionpaw's ears twitched. Pride and anxiety churned in his belly. J-Paw couldn't come tonight. Murmurs of surprise rose from the other clans. But ThunderClan leader carried on. But Hollypaw is here. Hollypaw's green eyes shone like stars, her black pelt almost invisible in the gloom. Then Firestar's gaze looks to Linepaw and Linepaw. Linepaw could hardly hear anything for the blood rushing in his ears. He puffed his chest out and held up his chin, feeling his pelt burn under the stares of the other cats. In a moment that was at once too short and too long, it was over, and Firestar was carrying on with his report. We have been lucky this leaf bear, he meowed. There has been frost but little snow, and the prey has continued to run. Lionpaw's pelt prickled. There was a new scent in the air, something he hadn't smelled before. Some other cats clearly scented it too. He could see their heads turning, searching the edge of the clearing. There was a rustle in the bracken close to where the WindClan cats were gathered, and in the shadows, Lionpaw saw movement. Firestar fell silent and watched with the other cats as two lithe shapes emerged from the undergrowth. Intruder! Intruders! The alert spread through the clans like wildfire. All around Lionpaw felt pelts bristling in alarm and battle-hungry muscles tensing, ready to spring. The WindClan warriors, who were nearest, lunged at the strangers, yowling and hissing. They wrestled the trespassers at the ground. Are they going to kill them? Lionpaw turned back to the great oak, wondering what the leaders would do. Firestar's fur was standing on end. His tail was stiff with shock, and his ears were pricked as he sniffed the air and sniffed again. Stop! The WindClan cats froze and drew back, leaving the two strangers standing alone at the edge of the clans. Lionpaw strained to see over the heads of the other clans. In a voice that was taut with shock and disbelief, Firestar called a name Lionpaw had only ever heard mentioned in nursery stories. Greystripe! Greystripe! Yo! Greystripe! I completely forgot how he showed up. I like this paragraph. Firestar's fur was standing on end. His tail was stiff with shock, and his ears were pricked as he sniffed the air and sniffed it again. Like, he was like, wait, hold on, I know that smell. Is it actually him? Hi, John! Also, oh my god, my throat feels fine, but I can hear it sounding funny. Oh, I'm so excited. I get to do my country accent again. It's been so long. Chapter 11. Hollypaw stared in amazement. Greystripe? But he's dead, she hissed to Lionpaw. Her brother did not reply. He was too busy trying to balance on his hind legs to get a better view. Hollypaw ducked down and weaved among the legs of the clan cats until she reached the edge and peeped out between the pelts of Crowfeather and Breezepaw. A gray tom with a stripe of darkened fur along his spine stood in the front of the break-in. His pelt clung to bone and wasted muscle, the fur matted and dull. His left ear was torn, and there were whiskers missing from his scratched and filthy muzzle. No, baby! Beside him shivered a light gray tabby she-cat. Her short fur stuck out in clumps, and her tail hung limp and bedraggled. But Graystripe's dead! You're alive! Firestar burst out from between One Star and Tornir. He faced Graystripe round-eyed, his fur on end. Graystripe stared back. His companion flattened her ears and lifted her front paw defensively. She was trembling, her eyes bright with fear as she tried to look at all the cats at once. Easy now, Millie, Graystripe cautioned. Firestar stretched his muzzle forward, sniffing tentatively, as though he could hardly believe what he saw. The two legs didn't kill you. He lifted his face to the moon. Thanks, StarClan, he whispered. Startled mews erupted among the washing cats. Graystripe's back! He must have escaped from the two legs! How did he survive? What about Brambleclaw? Hollypaw looked at her father. Firestar had held vigil for Graystripe, as he would for any dead clanmate, and made Brambleclaw his deputy instead. But Graystripe was alive, and now he had come back. The ThunderClan deputy was staring at Graystripe. I can hardly believe that you found us. His voice was filled with admiration. Admiration. But his gaze glittered uneasily as he stepped forward and brushed muzzles with the gray warrior. Firestar flicked his tail. Where did they take you? Graystripe didn't answer. He was staring at Firestar. So you didn't wait for me. Pain flashed in Firestar's eyes. I couldn't. Graystripe dipped his head. He could not risk the clan by keeping them in the forest. Graystripe leaned forward. If it had been only my life at stake. He glanced around the clans, then lowered his voice. I would have waited. Hollypaw felt a rustling beside her. The other ThunderClan warriors were pushing their way forward to greet their old den mate. Graystripe! Dustpelt dashed over. You're alive! Berrypaw, Hazelpaw, Ashfur, and Spiderleg crowded excitedly around, sniffing his fur, poking him with their muzzles. Graystripe flinched away. Give him some space, Leafpool warned. He's exhausted. But he's a legend! Hazelpaw complained as Leafpool shooed her and the others away with her tail. Squirrelflight was staring at Graystripe's companion. Who are you? This is Millie, Graystripe meowed. I met her in Two-Leg Place. Squirrelflight gasped. A kitty pet made the journey with you? I couldn't have managed it alone, Graystripe meowed. Brambleclaw narrowed his eyes. Did you follow her trail? No, Graystripe told him. Found her own way. We searched for Graystripe's home first, Millie explained. Her voice had a hard edge. Oh, her voice had a hard edge that surprised Hollypaw. Ooh, okay. We searched for Graystripe's home first, Millie explained. Her voice had a hard edge that surprised Hollypaw. She thought all kitty pets would speak with the same soft mew as Daisy. Graystripe's ragged pelt bristled. The whole forest was devastated when we got there. No cats, no prey, nothing but torn up trees and monsters. How did you know which way we had gone? Leafpool asked. We saw Ravenpaw. Firestar's eyes glowed. How is he? He's well, but concerned for you all. Graystripe stopped for a breath before going on. He said he'd seen you pass and that you were headed towards the setting sun, so we carried on over high stones. He broke off, his tail quivering. Leafpool darted forward. Are you okay? She's tired. Leopardstar shouldered her way through the ThunderClan cats. A loud purr was rumbling in her throat. It's good to see you again, Graystripe. As she spoke, the warriors from every clan raised their voices. Welcome back, Graystripe! How did he find us? StarClan must have been watching over him. Aww! Graystripe is so well loved. Cats from all 4 clans surged around Graystripe until he was almost lost in a forest of pelts. Brown, white, ginger, and tabby. Purrs blended. rumbling like thunder, louder than the sound of the wind in the branches. Aw, so cute. Hollypaw watched in disbelief. She knew there was a truce at the gathering, but this was not how it was supposed to be. They were meant to be 4 clans, yet the warriors were acting like they belonged to the same one. She wiggled through the crush of pelts to where Lionpaw was watching with round eyes. "It's not natural," she whispered in his ear. "Greystripe is ThunderClan. Why are the other clans making such a fuss over him?" "I don't know," Lionpaw admitted. "I thought that being a warrior meant protecting your clan. Shouldn't the other clans be worried that ThunderClan has an extra warrior now?" Hazelpaw nosed in behind him. They sound like they're in one of Squirrelflight's stories with how the clans came together to make the Great Journey. "The Great Journey's over," Hollypaw pointed out. But Hazelpaw wasn't listening. She was gazing at Greystripe. "How did he know we were on the island?" "Do you think StarClan guided him?" Lionpaw wondered. "How did you know we were here?" called a sleek gray RiverClan she-cat. Greystripe lifted his muzzle towards her. "Mistyfoot, it's good to see you again. We met a rogue who told us there were cats living by this lake," he explained. "We reached the top of the ridge. The full moon was shining on the water, and I could see shapes moving on the island. After that, we just followed the freshest scent," Millie explained. "They led us down to the shore and over to the fallen tree." Hollypaw heard a stifled hiss of disgust. Blackstar was staring at Millie with open malice. The gray she-cat glanced at him, then lifted her chin and returned his stare. And, even though her tail was trembling, she held the ShadowClan leader's gaze until he looked away. Millie! Hollypaw was impressed. Greystripe saw what was happening and bristled, the muscles flexing under his broad shoulders. "Let's not forget the truce," Leopardstar warned. "The truce is for warriors," Blackstar snarled. "The gathering is for warriors," One Star called. A murmur rippled through the WindClan cats and spread through ShadowClan. "Is ThunderClan gonna allow another kitty pet to join its ranks?" muttered a disbelieving voice. "I've trained Millie to be a warrior." Greystripe hissed. "A kitty pet would never have survived such a long journey." His voice cracked into a cough, and Hollypaw saw that the gray warrior was trembling from his ears to the tip of its tail. Firestar must have seen it too. He padded over to Greystripe and pressed against him. "Let's take you back to camp." Greystripe glanced at Millie. "Do you think you can travel a little further tonight?" "I'll keep going as long as you need me to," she reassured him. "Very well." Firestar meowed. He looked at the other clan leaders. "Was there any other news to be shared at the gathering?" "Not from RiverClan," Leopardstar answered him. "WindClan is satisfied," One Star told him. Blackstar shook his head. "Then let us return." Firestar called the ThunderClan and showed Greystripe and Millie their new home. "Does this mean ThunderClan has 2 deputies now? Breezepaw called boldly. Hollypaw pricked her ears, and, as she did so, she noticed Ashfur lean forward, whiskers twitching. Sandstorm stepped up to Firestar's side. "Greystripe and Millie are tired," she reminded him quietly. "We should get them home as soon as possible." "Yes." Firestar flicked his tail towards Brambleclaw. "Lead the way," he ordered. Brambleclaw instantly headed away through the wood towards the fallen tree. Sandstorm wove around Millie. "Stay close to me," she advised. "We'll have you in a warm, dry den before the moon is much further across the sky." Millie nodded and padded, limping slightly, alongside the pale ginger she-cat. Hazelpaw hurried to join them, clearly excited to be helping guide the stranger back to camp. Hollypaw fell in beside her brother, and they trailed after the others. She was acutely aware of the other clans watching them leave. One WindClan apprentice dipped her head to Lionpaw as they passed. "Do you know her?" Hollypaw asked, surprised. "That's Heatherpaw," Lionpaw replied. "I met her tonight." Hollypaw looked back over her shoulder at the WindClan apprentice. Heatherpaw was whispering in her companion's ear, her eyes fixed firmly on Greystripe as he disappeared into the trees. Then Hollypaw heard a voice above the murmuring of the lake. Surely Firestar will restore Graystripe to deputy. Hollypaw glared at the River Clan warrior who had the fur the color of stone. Another voice whispered, the vigil to Graystripe was false. Rage flared in Hollypaw, but not enough to sweep away the foreboding that prickled her pelt. Had Brambleclaw been made deputy by mistake? She pushed the thoughts away, closing her ears to the gossip from the other clans. The tree bridge loomed ahead, and she scrambled up through the dead branches to pick her way along the slippery trunk. Linepaw waited at the other end. His eyes sparkled with excitement, and as she landed, he mewed, I hope all the gatherings are as exciting as that one. Imagine Graystripe finding us. Hollypaw hurried after him, irritated. Aren't you worried? About what? About Graystripe coming back, of course. Hollypaw flicked her tail. How can StarClan approve of Brambleclaw being deputy when Graystripe is still alive? StarClan didn't tell us he was still alive, Linepaw reminded her. If it meant so much to them, they should have sent a sign or something. Mousepaw slowed and fell into step beside them. I think Brambleclaw is a great deputy, and Firestar can't ignore that, he meowed. Exactly, Linepaw agreed. What about the warrior code? Hollypaw protested. Does the code say anything about warriors coming back from the dead? Linepaw demanded. Hollypaw shook her head. No cat had mentioned the warrior code at the gathering, and yet she could not shake the feeling that some rule had been broken by appointing a new deputy when the old one wasn't dead. Graystripe was deputy first, she argued, half to herself. Do you want him to replace Brambleclaw? Linepaw asked, surprised. Of course not, Hollypaw snapped. And the clan is fine as it is, Mousepaw pointed out. So why bother changing anything? Hollypaw looked up ahead at Sandstorm and Millie. The two she-cats were padding along the lakeshore bed beside Firestar and Graystripe. Around her, the rest of the clan murmured in hushed whispers, and Hollypaw guessed that they were as uncertain as she was about what would happen now that Graystripe had returned to ThunderClan. Oh, I love Graystripe. It's crazy seeing the difference in the cats who weren't alive when the forest was destroyed. Yeah, right? They're like, who the heck? How are they so close? Why are they so nice to him, you know? He's just a random guy. Chapter 12. A line as pale as spilled milk gleamed on the horizon as Hollypaw followed her clanmates back into the hollow. The excited whispering, which had buzzed along with them like a swarm of bees during the long trek home, ceased as they padded through the thorn tunnel. Moonlight bathed the clearing, but the edges of the camp lay in shadow. Hollypaw's pelt prickled with anticipation as she saw two small shapes hurrying from the apprentice's den. How was the gathering? Cinderpaw called. Firestar halted, Graystripe beside him. You should be asleep, he meowed to the apprentice. You'll be too tired for your training in the morrow. Sorry, Firestar, Cinderpaw apologized, but we couldn't sleep until we heard about the gathering. Graystripe's whiskers twitched with amusement. We would have done the same when we were apprentices, he reminded Firestar. Who are you? Cinderpaw's... Storm? Stormfur's gonna see him. Cinderpaw's eyes grew round as she stared at the Grey Warrior. He was ThunderClan's deputy before you were born, Firestar told her. Graystripe? Cinderpaw gasped, tipping her head to one side. Graystripe! Poppypaw echoed excitedly. Cinderpaw ran in an excited circle. Can I tell Cloudtail? Oh, please! Without waiting for an answer, she charged towards the warrior's den, calling her mentor's name. Cloudtail peered at the den entrance, his sleep-ruffled pelt glowing in the moonlight. What's the matter, Cinderpaw? He complained. Graystripe's back! Broken Fur pushed past Cloudtail and stood outside. Oh, Bacon Fur! Outside the den. Graystripe? He stared, blinking across the clearing, then raced towards his old friend. Graystripe's back! Cloudtail yowled as he bounded over to greet his clanmate. Stormfur and Whitewing burst from the den, mewing excitedly. thought I'd never see you again, Brakenfur murmured, touching muzzles with Graystripe. Firestar was right, Stormfur added, pushing past Brakenfur. He told us you'd find your way back. Graystripe stared at Stormfur, his son, in astonishment. Do you live with the ThunderClan now? What's all this noise? Mousefur's grumpy mew sounded as the old she-cat squeezed stiffly out of the tangled entrance of the Elder's den. Longtail appeared beside her, his blind eyes staring blankly ahead. He sniffed the air. Even in the dim light of the moon, Hollypaw saw the fur prick along his spine. I smell Graystripe, he meowed. Graystripe? Mousefur scoffed. You're dreaming. He's not dreaming, Firestar promised. Graystripe pushed his way out through the knot of warriors in the center of the clearing. It really is me, he meowed. Great StarClan! Mousefur raced over to Graystripe and ran her tail along his flank. How in Silverpelt did you find us? Sandstorm stepped forward. It's a long story that can wait till morning, she meowed softly. Graystripe and Millie are exhausted. Millie? Mousefur glanced at the stranger standing beside Graystripe. Millie helped me make the journey here, Graystripe explained. She's my mate now. But Mousefur only dipped her head to Millie. Still breaking the rules, I see, Graystripe, she mewed. Hollypaw flicked the tip of her tail uneasily. The clan seemed ready to accept Millie, but what did StarClan think about it? She glanced at Firestar. Perhaps having a leader with Kitty Pet's roots meant that it was okay. The most important thing was that Millie had proven herself a warrior by helping Graystripe find his way back to the clan. They had both survived, and that must mean StarClan approved of her. A shadow by the warrior's den caught her eye. Brooke had woken up. The mountain cat padded over to Stormfur and murmured in his ear. J-Paw emerged from the apprentice's den, his nose twitching. What's going on? Lionpaw bounded over. Graystripe's back! J-Paw turned his sightless gaze towards Graystripe and Millie. Who's with him? His new mate, Cinderpaw explained, from Two-Leg Place. J-Paw wrinkled his nose. Well, tell Leafpool she's got an infected wound I can smell from here. J-Paw, I love you! Brambleclaw! Firestar called to his deputy. Find nests for Graystripe and Millie in the warrior's den. Brambleclaw patted away with a nod. Hollypaw was aware of growing murmurs among the cats. Graystripe's not as big as I imagined, Cinderpaw whispered. He looks small next to Brambleclaw. He smells like crow food, J-Paw mewed. He must have been eating like a loner for moons, Linepaw pointed out. Once he starts eating like a warrior again, he won't seem so small. Whitewind looked uneasily at Squirrelflight. What will happen now? Who's our deputy? Squirrelflight's gaze flicked anxiously from Graystripe to the warrior's den entrance, where Brambleclaw had disappeared. I don't know. Firestar gazed steadily at his clanmates. Nothing is going to change right now. We should just be grateful that Graystripe has returned to his clan. There's no room in the den for two new nests, Brambleclaw informed Firestar, returning. One maybe, but that's all. It doesn't matter where we sleep, but I want to stay with Millie, Graystripe mewed wearily. You shall, Firestar promised. We're going to expand the den anyways. We'd rather sleep separate from the others at first, Graystripe told him. Just till we get used to being around so many cats again. There's an alcove behind the warrior's den, Brightheart suggested. The ground is grassy there, so it's soft. And there's plenty of brambles left from when we cleared the entrance to the medicine den, Leafpool put in. If we arranged them in front, the alcove would be sheltered. Firestar looked at Graystripe. You'd prefer this? The gray warrior nodded. Hollypaw jumped to her paws. As a medicine cat apprentice, she knew that she must take care of the new arrivals. Their bedding would need to be warm and comfortable, and they should have herbs to help them recover from their long journey. Brakenfur, Cloudtail, and Brambleclaw, Firestar called. Start moving the brambles. Yes, Firestar. Brambleclaw hurried away to the browned and brittled brambles pushed into the shadows beside the medicine den. Brakenfur and Cloudtail followed. Can I help? Cinderpaw begged. Brakenfur stopped and turned, ready to answer, but Cinderpaw was already hurling towards him. She careened him into him, then fell backwards, tumbling tail over whiskers. Sorry, Brakenfur, she mewed, scrambling to her feet, her eyes filled with dismay. Brakenfur purred at his daughter. You're always a tail length ahead of yourself, Cinderpaw, he meowed. You remind me of my sister when she was an apprentice. Come on, Cinderpaw, Cloudtail called. Help me drag this bramble over the alcove. Sorry, Cinderpaw mewed again and raced over to help her mentor. By the time dawn broke over the camp, spilling pinks and oranges over the cloud-dappled sky, the den was finished. With a sleepy nod of thanks, Graystripe and Millie padded inside. On the other side of the clearing, Sandstorm and Spiderleg were leading Honeypaw and Mousepaw out of the camp on the dawn patrol. Brambleclaw and Cloudtail headed to their den to sleep. Hollypaw stayed with Leafpool outside the makeshift den and admired their work. The moss you collected will keep them warm, she mewed. Leafpool had gathered a little from each of the dens, and Hollypaw had helped her shape it into a comfortable nest for Graystripe and Millie. Graystripe might be ThunderClan's rightful deputy. Hollypaw wanted to make his nest as cozy as possible. Should I fetch some herbs? Hollypaw offered. Jaypaw said that Millie's got an infected wound. How did he know? Leafpaw looked at her in surprise. Hollypaw shrugged. He smelled it. She was groping for the name of some leaf or seed that might help, but after all the excitement of building the den, her mind felt too fuzzy. We'll make sure we see to it come sun high, Leafpool told her. Right now, Graystripe and Millie need rest more than anything. Hollypaw stifled a yawn. Leafpool gazed down at her. You must be tired too, she observed. A little, Hollypaw admitted. In fact, she was almost numb with exhaustion. Let's get some sleep, Leafpool suggested. She got to her paws and padded towards the medicine den. Gratefully, Hollypaw followed her. She was looking forward to curling up in her nest and closing her eyes. When Hollypaw awoke, weak sunlight was flowing through the brambles, rippling like water on the sandy earth. Immediately, she thought of Graystripe. Firestar had told them nothing would change right now. Did this mean that he had planned to replace Brambleclaw with his old friend eventually? Would StarClan expect him to? She padded from the warm moss, scenting the chilly air. Her belly rumbled. Leafpool lay in her nest, eyes closed. But as Hollypaw stirred, she lifted her nose. Awake already? She got to her paws and stretched, curling her tail till it shivered. You had a busy night. I thought you'd sleep longer. I'm hungry, Hollypaw confessed. There's fresh kill on the pile, Leafpool told her, scenting the air. Hollypaw fetched a mouse for her mentor and a vole for herself. She ate ravenously, swallowing it in a few mouthfuls before licking her paws and washing her face. Shall we check on Graystripe now? She asked eagerly. Is it sun high? Not yet. Then let them sleep a little longer, Leafpool decided. She padded over to the piles of herbs at the back of the den and began shifting through them. I needed to fetch some borage, she meowed. We're running low, and Graystripe or Millie might have a fever. There's some lakewort over the ridge. Alarm pricked in Hollypaw's claws. You won't wake them up before I return? There might be a lot to learn from the clan's newest patients. She hadn't had a sick cat to treat since she became a medicine cat. She had tried to learn the names of herbs and what they were used for, but she was looking forward to actually using some. It might help her memorize them a little more easily. So long as you don't dwaddle, Leafpool warned. I won't, Hollypaw promised. Leafpool turned back to her herbs, spreading poppy seeds under her paws to count them. Hollypaw turned to leave, then paused. The clan set vigil for Graystripe, didn't it? Yes, we did. Leafpool didn't look up from shifting through the pile of feverfew leaves. Does that mean he's officially dead? In the eyes of StarClan, I mean? I think StarClan would have noticed that Graystripe's with us and not them, Leafpool mewed dryly. But what about the warrior code? Is he officially dead according to the warrior code? Did he look like he was dead last night? Leafpool meowed. But if he's not dead, then surely he'll still be dead. We are here to heal. Leafpool looked directly at her. Firestar's problems are not ours, unless StarClan wishes them to be. Now, are you going? Going? Hollypaw echoed. To fetch the borage. Leafpool sighed. If you're not back before sun high, I shall wake them up without you. I'm going! Hollypaw promised, spinning around and pushing her way out of the den. Up on the ridge, a cold, fresh breeze was blowing through the trees from across the lake. Hollypaw thought she could detect scents from RiverClan on it. Her paws itched to go exploring, but she wanted to get back before Graystripe and Millie woke up. She ducked her head and began to sniff the ground, hoping to find a scent trail that might lead her to borage. She desperately tried to remember what it smelled like in the medicine den, but her nose was too full of the scents of water and wind. She padded down the steep slope, heading for where the trees thinned. The sun sparkled on the lake. What a great day for hunting! She pushed the thought away. She was hunting for borage. Sniffing the ground once more, she picked up a tangy scent that seemed familiar. She followed it carefully, clambering over the low boulders that dimpled the ground, and tracked the scent of some long grass, where she spotted green, jagged leaves growing in a clump on long, thin stems. They carried the scent she had been following. It was stronger up close and more bitter. Was this borage? She had seen this before, she was sure. She glanced up at the sun. It shone high above her. Leafpool would be waking Graystripe and Millie up soon. Quickly, she nipped a few stems, breaking them at the base, careful to not swallow any of the bitter sap. She pitied the cat who had to eat such a foul-tasting herb as she picked up the fallen stems in her jaws and hurried back to camp. This isn't borage. Leafpool stared in dismay at the stems Hollypaw had placed in front of her. This is yarrow. This makes cats sick. Hollypaw closed her eyes, ashamed and angry. Why couldn't she remember anything Leafpool taught her? Don't be too hard on yourself, Leafpool encouraged. There's a lot to learn. Hollypaw couldn't meet her eyes. Don't make excuses for me. I should be doing better than this by now. Come on, Leafpool meowed briskly. You can do without borage. Fetch some marigold leaves and we'll go wake Graystripe. Marigold leaves! Hollypaw knew what they looked like. She bounded over to the back of the cave and picked up a mouthful, then followed Leafpool across the clearing to Graystripe and Millie's makeshift den. Firestar stood outside with Sandstorm and Honeypaw. Dustpelt, Thornclaw, Poppypaw, and Hazelpaw milled around eagerly. Graystripe and Millie, still full ruffled from sleep, sat among them. Millie was staring from face to face, ears twitching. Even Graystripe looked uncomfortable, like he had forgotten what it was like to have so many cats around him. Have you been awake long? Leafpool asked, weaving through the others to reach Graystripe. She glanced sternly at the cats clustered around the Grey Warrior and his mate. I hope no cat woke you. No. Graystripe drew his paws closer in and tucked his tail tighter around him. The sun woke us up. You can catch up with everyone later. Leafpool twitched her tail, making it clear she wanted the other cats to leave. Let me know how they are when you finished, Firestar requested, before he led his clanmates away. Graystripe's shoulders loosened as they left. Millie looked relieved too. Any scratches? Leafpool asked. Millie has a cut on one of her pads. Let's have a look. Gingerly, Millie held up her forepaw. There was a thorn in there. Oh, there's a thorn in there. Leafpool meowed. J-Paw was right. It's infected. She flicked her tail at Hollypaw. My apprentice will pull it out while I prepare some leaves to heal the infection. Hollypaw gulped and inhaled a fragment of marigold leaf from the bunch she still held in her jaws. She coughed, spitting the leaves out on the ground, and glanced anxiously at Millie, who gazed equally anxiously back. Hollypaw knew she couldn't refuse. This was what she had wanted, a chance to practice instead of simply learning. She peered closely at Millie's paw. Sure enough, the thorn was buried deep in the pad. To Hollypaw's dismay, she could see blood and pus oozing out around it. That must be sore, she breathed. Did she really have to pull it out with her teeth? Leafpool narrowed her eyes. Perhaps I'd better do it. Self-consciously, Hollypaw backed away and let Leafpool take her place. Shall I chew the marigold leaves into a poultice? She offered, her fur prickling with guilt. Yes. Leafpool was concentrating on Millie's paw with a detached intensity that Hollypaw wished she could copy. Why was it all so difficult? Graystripe began to wash his face. So good to see the clan again, he meowed between licks. I always hoped I would find you, but I guess I never knew for sure. How did you know where we were? Hollypaw asked. Ravenpaw told us to head towards the setting sun. We were lucky, and StarClan watched over us. Were you angry at Firestar when you found he'd left without you? Hollypaw meowed boldly. Graystripe twitched the tip of his tail. Yes, I was disappointed, but I can understand why he did it. The forest was in ruins. No cat would have survived there. How? Millie leaped backwards and began to lick her paw. Leafpool was holding the thorn between her teeth. She spat it out. Press the marigold into the wound with your paw, she told Hollypaw. Millie held out her sore paw, which was bleeding and swollen where the thorn had been stuck. Hollypaw shuddered and rubbed her paw on the marigold pulp. She began to smear the juices gingerly into Millie's swollen pad. Millie stayed very still, even though it must have hurt. Cinderpelt would have been proud of you both, Graystripe meowed. I wish that were true, Hollypaw thought, forcing herself to hold back the bile rising in her throat. But if Cinderpelt is really watching me right now, she'll know that I can't do anything right for Leafpool. We'll do some battle training this afternoon, Leafpool announced after they'd finished treating Graystripe and Millie. Even medicine cats need to know how to defend their clan in battle. Hollypaw's heart soared. No pus, no bitter-tasting herbs, no cats wincing in pain. This was going to be fun. They climbed the slope outside the camp, heading away from the lake, and followed the track that led down to the mossy hollow that the apprentices used for battle training. As they padded through the trees, Hollypaw heard energetic mews up ahead. She sniffed the air. Cinderpaw and Cloudtail were already there. She raced ahead of Leafpool, wanting to know what real warrior training was like. Through the trees, she glimpsed the small gray tabby rushing towards Cloudtail. The white warrior twisted faster than a leaf caught in a breeze, and Cinderpaw hurled past, missing him entirely. No, Cloudtail meowed. Didn't you hear what I told you? Aim for where you think I'm going to be, not where I am. Sorry, Cinderpaw panted. Can I try one more time? Hollypaw padded down the bank and into the clearing. Hello, she mewed. Are you collecting herbs? Cloudtail asked. No. Leafpool's going to teach me some fighting moves. Great, Cinderpaw mewed. We can train together. Leafpool padded to Hollypaw's side. Maybe another time, she meowed. I think it's better if I show Hollypaw some basic moves before she joins in with warrior apprentices. Hollypaw scowled and scuffed the earth with her paw. Cinderpaw looked back at Cloudtail. Can we try that move again? Cloudtail nodded. Just remember. But Cinderpaw was already hurling towards him. He whipped around in a circle once more, and once more dodged neatly out of the path. Hi, Cordy! Cinderpaw is so eager. Come on, Leafpool mewed to Hollypaw. We'll use that space over there. She pointed with her nose to the far side of the mossy green clearing. Hollypaw noticed how smooth and soft it looked, perfect for fighting on. No roots to trip over, no leaves to skid on. We'll start with more defensive moves, I think. Leafpool turned her back on Hollypaw and meowed over her shoulder. I want you to watch me and then copy what I do. She dipped her head, twisted around, and rolled on her back, before springing back up to her paws. The whole move was over in a heartbeat. Do you want to have a go? Hollypaw nodded. I think I got it. She ducked her head, twisted around, and rolled over, leaping to her paws again in an instant. Cloudtail called across the clearing. Was that your first go? Yes, Hollypaw answered. Did I do it right? She glanced anxiously at Leafpaw. You did brilliantly, Leafpool told her. Let's try something else. Leafpool demonstrated a few more moves, and Hollypaw copied each one of them with the same fierce intensity. Although Cloudtail made no more comments, she knew he was keeping an eye on her. We could try some combat now, Leafpool suggested after a while. Run at me and try to get past me. How? Hollypaw asked. Any way you can, Leafpool told her. We'll discuss tactics afterward. Hollypaw crouched down and stared at Leafpool. Her gaze flitted to a sapling at the edge of the clearing behind the medicine cat. That was where she would aim. Leafpool was merely an obstacle to avoid. She darted forward, aware that Leafpool was rearing on her hind legs, ready to bring her weight down on Hollypaw the moment she tried to slip past. Hollypaw saw the medicine cat was leaning back a little and guessed that her weight was mostly balanced on one side. With lightning speed, she swerved to the other side. Leafpool didn't have a chance to rebalance herself, and she slammed down a mouse length away from where Hollypaw flashed by. Hollypaw felt a rush of triumph as she reached the sapling and spun to see Leafpool blinking with surprise. Then a prick of guilt jabbed her. Was she meant to be faster than her mentor? That was very good, Leafpool panted. Yeah, it was! Cloudtail was padding over from the other side of the clearing, Cinderpaw on his heels. You were so fast, Cinderpaw complimented her. Thanks! Hollypaw trotted back to Leafpool's side. Cloudtail dipped his head towards Leafpool. Tell me if I'm butting in, he began, but I think Cinderpaw and Hollypaw should be tried training together. Cinderpaw has more energy than a well-fed rabbit, and she has more experience than Hollypaw, but Hollypaw knows how to watch and listen, and she clearly has an instinct for judging her opponent. Hollypaw was almost too excited to speak. A real warrior was offering to help her with battle training. I don't see why not, Leafpool meowed. Cloudtail flicked his tail. Cinderpaw, why don't you show Hollypaw that fighting move we've been practicing? Cinderpaw led Hollypaw to the center of the clearing. The sunshine flooding through the branches overhead dappled her smoky pelt. You come at me, and I'm going to try to unbalance you. Hollypaw took a quick breath, then threw herself at Cinderpaw. Before she knew what was happening, Cinderpaw had knocked one of her forelegs from under her with a powerful front paw, then tipped her over with a rolling shove from her hind legs. Hollypaw scrambled to her feet and shook herself. Wow, she mewed, impressed. Can I try? Hi, Mika. She wanted to try the move in a slightly different way. As soon as Cinderpaw rushed her, she ducked her head, knocking Cinderpaw's forepaw from under her with her muzzle. She was so low to the ground that it was easy to roll onto her side from there and thrust her hind legs in a powerful kick that sent Cinderpaw flying. Cinderpaw scrambled to her paws. I love the way you used your muzzle instead of your paws. It made you roll over much smoother. Can I try it that way on you? Sure. Cinderpaw lunged for Hollypaw, this time using her muzzle to unbalance her, just as Hollypaw had done. She finished the move with the hind kick, so much quicker that it sent Hollypaw skidding back across the clearing. Hollypaw sat up, panting. That was great, you two, Cloudtail praised them. Cinderpaw licked her paw and drew it over her ear to wipe off some moss that caught on it. As she went to lick it again, her paw twitched as though she were flicking dirt from between her claws. Hollypaw's whiskers twitched with amusement. Cinderpaw's little paw flick was something none of the other cats did. Aw. What did you think? Hollypaw asked, turning to Leafpool. But Leafpool did not answer. She was staring at Cinderpaw with a look of startled disbelief. Hollypaw wondered if the apprentice had suddenly changed into a badger, but Cinderpaw was sitting quietly, washing her ears. Leafpool? Hollypaw mewed again. Leafpool dragged her gaze from Cinderpaw, her eyes still round with shock. Yes? Are you okay? Leafpool shook her head as though to clear it. Yes, of course. It's just that Cinderpelt used to flick her paw just like that. She glanced uneasily back at Cinderpaw, who had finished washing him and was circling Cloudtail. Will you teach me how to do a back kick? The great apprentice begged. It'll be dusk soon, Cloudtail observed. I think we should head back to camp. Can you teach me how to do a backflip? What about a front flip? What if I did like a jump, spinning kick off of you? Leafpool nodded. I want to check Millie's paw while it's still light. The sky was darkening above the trees, and the air was growing chillier. Even so, Hollypaw was sorry to leave the mossy clearing. Her body felt bruised and tired, but her mind was buzzing as she tried to work out how to make the moves she had learned even better. She's like a tactician. As she followed Cloudtail and Cinderpaw up the bank into the trees, Leafpool fell into step beside her. You fought well. I was really impressed. For a moment, Hollypaw was thrilled. Joy surged through her paws, making them light as dandelion floss. Then her heart plummeted. She's never praised me like this for being a medicine cat apprentice. Why wasn't she good at remembering herbs as she was remembering fighting moves? It will happen, Hollypaw told herself firmly. One day, her mind will be as sharp in the medicine cat den as it was in the mossy clearing. It was just a matter of time. She had chosen to become a medicine cat, and she was not about to let herself or her clan down. She just has to realize. Thank you for the hydrate, Mika. Chapter 13. J-Paw! J-Paw dwalled over his meal, taking minuscule bites from the mouse as that he had plucked from the fresh kill pile. These paws were made for stabbing, not fixing. Rook padded past with Stormfur. No appetite today. Not much, J-Paw muttered. He went back to nibbling at his meal as the two warriors took fresh kill from the pile and settled at the edge of the clearing. He was in no hurry to begin his apprentice duties. Still confined to camp, days after Crowfeather had brought him home, he was bored with clearing out dens and running errands. This morning he was supposed to clean out Graystripe and Millie's den. The new arrivals had recovered enough to eat in the clearing with the rest of the clan. Nice catch, Dustpail, Graystripe called up from below the high ledge, where he was sharing a rabbit with Millie. Thanks, Dustpail meowed back. J-Paw liked Graystripe. He was easygoing and good-humored, though still guarded when there were lots of cats around. Millie was all right, too, for a kitty pet. Still, he wasn't looking forward to clearing the soiled moss from their den while they went out on their first patrol. It wasn't fair. They would be out exploring the forest while he would be scrabbling through their stinky bedding. He took another tiny bite from his mouth. He could sense Brightheart watching him from where she sat by the half-rock. She was sharing tongues with Dustpelt, but her gaze kept flicking back to him. He could feel her frustration like thorns in his pelt. What did she expect of him? Was he supposed to be happy about cleaning out dens instead of learning how to hunt and fight? Even though he was confined to camp, there was enough space in the clearing for her to teach him some battle moves. But she seemed interested only in making him run around looking after his clanmates. Was that all she thought he was good for? Hurry up, J-Paw, Brightheart called. Once you finish Graystripe's den, I promised Ferncloud that you'd play with her kits while she went out hunting. Oh my god. She hasn't been out of the camp for 2 moons. J-Paw lashed his tail. And when am I gonna get to hunt? Once you've learned to serve your clan without complaining, Brightheart told him mildly. J-Paw heard an amused purr rumble in Dustpelt's throat. You'll have to take him out eventually, Brightheart, he meowed, before he drives us all crazy. It was Firestar who confined him to camp, Brightheart pointed out. I'm sure you could persuade Firestar that J-Paw needs to be out training, Dustpelt argued. J-Paw's heart skipped with hope. There's more to being a warrior than hunting and fighting, Brightheart replied. The thorn barrier rattled. The dawn patrol had returned. Whitewing, Ashfur, Lionpaw, Spiderleg, and Mousepaw carried the scent of the forest temptingly into the clearing, and yet J-Paw could sense anxiety among them. Ashfur was lashing his tail while Whitewing padded in agitated circles. Brambleclaw swished out through the entrance of the warrior's den, followed by Squirrelflight. Anything to report? ShadowClan are marking every tree along the border, Ashfur replied, his mouth sharp with anger. J-Paw felt an explosion of energy as Graystripe leapt to his paws. Our ShadowClan up to their old tricks again. The warrior spat. If any of them set paw on ThunderClan territory while I'm on patrol, I'll claw their ears off. They haven't crossed the new border yet, Brambleclaw informed him, so we've decided to ignore them. Graystripe snorted. Ignoring ShadowClan? You may as well try to ignore the wind and the rain. It won't stop you from getting cold and wet. That may be how it was in the forest, Brambleclaw meowed, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do here. Things are different since the Great Journey, Squirrelflight added. Not so different that we should trust ShadowClan, Ashfur growled. Some cats will always take what other cat has. J-Paw sensed his mother flinch, as though stung. What did Ashfur mean exactly? Oh, wait. Some cats will always try to take what another cat has. Dang. Ashfur burning her in every word he makes. ShadowClan will always push more than what's rightfully theirs, Dustpelt agreed. J-Paw's whiskers quivered. He knew there had been dark mutterings about Firestar's decision to give up territory to ShadowClan. But now that the warriors were openly agreeing with Graystripe, shouldn't they be loyal to their leader first? Firestar has decided to ignore ShadowClan for now. Brambleclaw kept his voice steady, but J-Paw could tell he was watching and listening for the slightest signs of rebellion among his clanmates. Pebbles clattered from the high ledge as Firestar leapt down into the clearing. What's going on? He asked. Graystripe feels we shouldn't ignore ShadowClan. Brambleclaw replied, I think Graystripe's right. What? Firestar, you're such a pushover. He simps so hard for his best buddy. J-Paw waited for his father to object, but Brambleclaw remained silent. Graystripe may not have been in our home for long, Firestar went on, but he knows ShadowClan of old. I agree with him. ShadowClan will keep pressing our borders until we make a stand. That's not what you said before the gathering, Brambleclaw meowed quietly. But at the gathering, ShadowClan were obviously looking for trouble. Firestar reminded him. I didn't want to overreact before, but now I think we need to do something to show them that we are ready to defend our borders. Why didn't you tell me this before? J-Paw felt the question burning in his father's mind. Are we going to fight them? Ashfur asked. Not unless we have to, Firestar replied. But we must increase patrols along the border, Dustpelt put in. Firestar nodded. And we'll start matching ShadowClan's markers, tree for tree. If they think they can intimidate us into giving up more territory, they are wrong. Very well, Firestar, Bramaclaw meowed. Stormfur and Brook can mark the trees along the ShadowClan border, while Squirrelflight leads the hunting patrols as planned. Dustpelt shifted uneasily. Surely it would be better to let Squirrelflight's patrol mark the ShadowClan border. Their scent markers are pure ThunderClan and will send a stronger message to ShadowClan. Bro. J-Paw felt resentment flash from Stormfur. He half expected the Grey Warrior to lunge at Dustpelt and rake his flank for thorn-sharp claws, but Brook got to her paws before Stormfur could react. There is truth in Dustpelt's words, she concluded. But ShadowClan must know by now that you and Stormfur are ThunderClan, Whitewing argued. In a battle over boundaries, it is better to make things as clear as possible, Ashfur meowed. An uncomfortable silence hung in the hollow until Firestar decided Squirrelflight will lead her patrol to mark the ShadowClan border. Stormfur and Brook can hunt. As the patrols assembled, J-Paw gulped down the rest of his meal and got to his paws. He didn't want to watch his clanmates head out into the forest while he wished he could go with them. He might as well get Greystripe's den cleaned. He scanned the camp for Brightheart and found her with Leafpool outside the medicine cat's den. Where shall I get clean moss if I can't leave the camp? He demanded, interrupting them. He turned to Leafpool. Have you got any to spare? He knew she kept clean bedding in case of injured cats. There's some inside my den, Leafpool told him. Help yourself. Hollypaw's out looking for borage. She can fetch more moss when she gets back. Brightheart's pelt bristled as she brushed past her, and he heard her whisper to Leafpool, I don't think I'm making him very happy so far. I don't know how to get through to him. How about realizing that having one eye doesn't make you so much better than me? The clean moss was easy to sniff out, piled at one side of the cave. J-Paw picked up a large wad in his jaws. The fresh, grassy taste reminded him of his adventure into WindClan territory. He may have ended up in the lake, but at least for one morning he had been free. Before he reached the trailing brambles at the entrance to Leafpool's den, he heard Firestar's hush mew outside. Brightheart had gone, and Firestar was talking to Leafpool. J-Paw dropped his moss and pricked his ears. I need you to share tongues with StarClan, Firestar mewed softly to the medicine cat. You are worried about Greystripe, Leafpool guessed. I have to know who ThunderClan's rightful deputy is, Firestar explained. Vigil or no vigil, Greystripe was still alive when I appointed Brambleclaw. Leafpool paused. Are you prepared for any answer they give? Greystripe is my friend. I owe him so much, but Brambleclaw is a brave and loyal warrior. Firestar sighed. Whatever StarClan say, a decision must be made. What if StarClan have no answer for you? Then I will do what I think is best for the clan. I'll visit the moon pool, Leafpool promised. J-Paw's whiskers twitched with curiosity. He had heard about the moon pool. It always sounded so mysterious, a place where only medicine cats visited to share tongues with StarClan. Would Hollypaw get to go with Leafpool tonight? As Firestar headed away, J-Paw recognized Hollypaw's quick step hurrying towards the medicine den. She halted beside Leafpool. Are these the right leaves? J-Paw smelled the familiar tang of borage. Yes, Leafpool purred. Well done, Hollypaw. I knew I'd get it right in the end, Hollypaw mewed happily. J-Paw picked up his wad of moss and nosed his way out through the brambles. You took your time, Leafpool commented. Did you suspect he had overheard his conversation with Firestar? If she did, she gave no sign. Hollypaw, she mewed, turning to her apprentice. You'll have to sort these leaves yourself. Make sure you stir only the undamaged ones. Damaged leaves will rot before they dry. Won't you be here to help? Hollypaw asked. I have to go to the moon pool, Leafpool explained. But you don't have to leave now. It's not even sun high. Moon High is early this season, Leafpool explained. I want to make sure I'm there in good time. What if Cat needs treatment? Hollypaw mewed anxiously. You'll be fine. Brightheart knows a lot about herbs and berries, Leafpool soothed. Ask her if you need help. Could you show me which herbs is which one more time? Hollypaw pleaded. Okay, Leafpool agreed, but then I must go. The two cats disappeared inside the medicine den, leaving J-Paw by himself. His mind was buzzing. He wasn't going to stay in camp cleaning out bedding all morning. If Leafpool was going to the moon pool, he was going to follow her? J-Paw! He carried the moss across the clearing and deposited it outside Graystripe's den. Then he headed back towards Leafpool's den, as if he was going to fetch some more, except this time he hurried straight past the entrance and slipped into the clump of brambles beside it. This was a corner of the hollow too overgrown to be used for sleeping or storing fresh kill, and J-Paw knew that the rock wall behind had crumbled enough to make it possible to climb to the top. This was the fast route down from the forest that Brambleclaw had used when the patrol had discovered the trapped fox. It was steep, but J-Paw hoped he could use it to get out of the camp without any cat noticing. His heart pounding, he plunged through the brambles until he reached the cliff. Sniffing and feeling with his paws, he reached up and dug his claws into a bush rooted a tail length up the stone. He hauled himself free from the bramble bush, then sniffed for the next hold. Little by little, grasping tussocks of grass for paw holds, he fought his way up, praying that he didn't give himself away by sending loose stones clattering down into camp. At last, a fresh breeze ruffled his ears. He had reached the top of the hollow. Digging his claws into the soft grass, he dragged himself over the edge of the cliff. Following the slope of the forest, he headed down the steep bank that led to the camp entrance. On familiar ground now, he stopped the fox length from the bottom and wriggled backward into the break-in. A moment later, Leafpool came pattering over the forest floor. J-Paw let her pass, then scrambled after her, keeping to one side so that he was never directly behind her. The trees were a good shield, and he wove between them, following his instinct as much as his whiskers. The scent of windcloud soon began to taint the air. Leafpool was headed towards the hot, hilly moorland, but she did not cross the border. Instead, she veered towards the sun and kept going until the land grew steeper and the trees began to thin. J-Paw heard a stream and followed Leafpool's scent trail as it turned off the soft grass and onto the jagged boulders that lined the tumbling water. He dropped back a little, shivering in the sharpened breeze. There was less vegetation here to shield him. He would have to depend on the camouflage of his striped pelt against the stony ground. At least the sound of water disguised his stumbling steps. The rocks beneath his paws rose and fell unevenly, and he had to slow down. Fortunately, Leafpool's scent remained strong and steady. Suddenly, his paws started to recognize the path, and images from his dream flooded his mind. He was trekking through the same narrow valley he had visited in his sleep, which meant that he knew what it looked like. Ahead, he knew that a stream danced down the mountainside, sparkling into the sunlight. He was following Leafpool to its source, and, with a prickle of excitement, he realized that its source must be the moon pool. Stones rattled in front of him, and J-Paw stopped. He guessed that Leafpool was climbing the steep rocks that led up to the ridge. He waited until the noise had ceased, and he was sure that she had disappeared over the top, and he followed, scrambling from rock to rock, grazing his pads on the sharp granite. Out of breath, he stopped at the top. He shivered. The setting sun must be blocked by the surrounding rocks. He was in the brink of the hollow. Leafpool's scent drifted up, mingled with new smells of damp stone, dusty lichen, and water, fresh and sharp with the smell of the mountains. It trickled and splashed, echoing off encircling stones. As he padded cautiously forward, he realized there were other cats brushing against him, first one side, then the other, unbalancing him. "Stop pushing!" He shoved back, stumbling when he found only air around him. Voices whispered around the hollow. "They have come. We must hurry. The moon is rising. Who else is here?" J-Paw tasted the air, but he could only scent Leafpool. Steadying his trembling tail, he listened to figure out where she was. The enclosed rocks amplified her breath as it rippled the water beneath her muzzle. He knew from its soft rhythm that she was sleeping. Carefully, he followed the slope down towards the pool. The smooth stone beneath his paws was polished and dimpled, worn into a pathway over endless moons by countless paw steps. It led him on. It led him on until water lapped at his paws with a cool tongue. Then he lay down a fox length away from where Leafpool slept and closed his eyes. As soon as his nose touched the moonpool, stars filled his vision. It was as though great paws had swept him up into the inky sky and freed him among countless blue-white lights. Far below, he could see the starlit slopes of the hollow curving down to the glittering moonpool. He stared, his breath coming quicker. The hollow was no longer empty, but crowded with cats. They lined every ridge, their pelts bathed in moonlight. StarClan! He stared harder until he could see every pelt and muzzle clearly. The cats were watching Leafpool, crouching at the water's edge. He could see himself too, curled up and asleep. I'm watching from outside my body. J-Paw scanned the hollow, suddenly aware of cold stone beneath his paws. He was at the top of the ridge now, not the sky. Leafpool stood and began to greet StarClan like old friends, padding around the slope and stopping to brush muzzles here and there. J-Paw recognized none of them. They had lived before he was born. Only their clan scents were familiar. He shrank back into the shadows, where he was sure no cat could see him, and watched. Blue Star. Leafpool dipped her head to a she-cat, broad-faced and round-eyed, with long, pale fur. You are welcome, Leafpool, Blue Star murmured. We thought you might come. Beside her sat a pale Tom whose eyes shone with warmth. It's good to see you again, he meowed. You too, Lionheart, Leafpool replied. Blue Star's eyes sparkled. You've come with good news. Yes, Graystripe is back, Leafpool purred. Murmurs of joy rippled around the cats. But there's a problem, Leafpool went on. Firestar doesn't know who should be ThunderClan's deputy. Graystripe and Brambleclaw were both appointed according to the warrior code. A deep mew echoed from across the hollow. Both cats have an equal claim. Leafpool jerked her head around. Behind her, a Tom with a pelt as dark as the sky flicked his long, thin tail. J-Paw tasted the air. He was WindClan. If Firestar is wise, mewed the Tom, he will choose the warrior who knows the clan the best. That choice will be hard, Tall Star, Blue Star warned the WindClan cat, one that no leader has ever had to make before. Lionheart flicked his tail. If only we had known Graystripe was alive. We would have let Leafpool know. He was in a place too far beyond our seeing, Blue Star reminded him, and ThunderClan needed a deputy. Is that why you sent me the vision of thorn-shot brambles encircling the camp? Leafpool asked. We had to let Firestar know that it was time to appoint one. Blue Star meowed. Lionheart nodded. We showed you that vision. Brambleclaw was the best warrior to help Firestar protect the clan. Leafpool looked up sharply. Is he still the best? Blue Star and Lionheart exchanged glances, but did not answer. Do you wish you had not sent the sign? Leafpool pressed. Brambleclaw has done well, Blue Star reassured her. He was the right choice. Firestar would have been foolish to go on without a deputy when no cat knew if Graystripe would return. But who should be the deputy now? There is no true answer, Blue Star warned. Leafpool blinked. Then the decision is Firestar's to make? Yes, she sighed. But Tallstar is right when he says Firestar must choose the cat that knows the clan the best. He must use his head, not his heart, to reach his decision. Should I tell him this? Tell him only that he must make his own choice. Leafpool dipped her head. I will share this with him, she promised. She turned away from StarClan and padded back down to the moonpool. J-Paw stared round-eyed at the cats. A well-muscled Tom was murmuring something to the she-cat beside him. J-Paw guessed from his glossy pelt that he was RiverClan. A group of thin, lithe cats whispered together in the shadow of a boulder. WindClan? J-Paw searched the slope, tasting the air, wondering which of the cats were ThunderClan. Then he froze, his paws turning to ice. A she-cat was staring straight at him. Her fur was long and pale, and her face was broad and lined with old battle scars. J-Paw could not guess her clan from her shape. Her eyes sparked with a fierce spirit, and he drew further back into the shadows. Something told him he should not be spying here. Is that Yellowfang? Leafpool hesitated at the edge of the pool. Cinderpelt? She called hopefully, looking at the cats around the hollow. But there was no reply. She blinked, her eyes wistful, before lying down with her paws tucked neatly under her chest. Resting her muzzle beside the water once more, she closed her eyes. J-Paw! Leafpool's shocked mew woke him from where he lay on the cold stone. He scrambled to his paws, the pebble scraping his pads as he stumbled. He was blind again. Leafpool's anger flashed against his pelt. What are you doing here? This is a place for medicine cats. I came here to share tongues with StarClan. I know. J-Paw gulped. I saw you. You saw me with StarClan? Yeah, I was watching from the top of the ridge while you were talking to Blue Star and Lionheart. Leafpool looked stunned. You were watching? How? When I closed my eyes, that's what I dreamed, that's all. Leafpool narrowed her eyes. What did they say? Blue Star said that Firestar must make his own decision, J-Paw mewed, but he should use his head, not his heart, which I suppose means he should choose. You understood! Leafpool cut in. Her mew came in a shocked whisper. J-Paw was puzzled. Why wouldn't he understand? Was it because he wasn't a medicine cat, or because he was blind? How did you find your way here? Leafpool asked. J-Paw sensed weariness prick the medicine cat's pelt, as though she were afraid of his answer. I followed you? You followed my scent, do you mean? All the way from the hollow? Partially, but I dreamed the journey before, so I knew how it looked. Leafpool gasped. I can't help what I dream, J-Paw protested. Leafpool turned away. Something extraordinary has happened here. Her words were little more than a murmur, half spoken to herself, but they echoed off the water. I just wish I knew what it meant. Why should it mean anything? J-Paw mewed. What was so odd about having a dream at the moon pool? Wasn't that what it was there for? Come, Leafpool ordered. We should return to camp. Briskness masked the confusion flooding from her. She padded up the path to the top of the ridge, and J-Paw followed. He let her guide him down the rocky slope beyond, though he had a clear enough sense of it now to manage by himself. Are you going to tell Firestar everything StarClan said? He mewed. I'll tell him he must make his own choice about who's deputy. That's all? What do you mean? I think Tallstar and Bluestar hinted that Firestar should choose Brambleclaw. He's the one who knows the clan best now. J-Paw's nose twitched. He could smell a mouse. Are you saying I should influence Firestar's decision? You'd only be interpreting what they really meant. The mouse was close. Isn't that your duty? J-Paw felt Leafpool's startled gaze like sunlight on his pelt. Is that what you would do? I would do what was best for my clan. A pebble moved just in front of his paws. He darted forward and slapped his forepaw down, only to find that the mouse had escaped into its burrow. He lifted his muzzle, disappointed. Leafpool had stopped. Fear seemed to enfold her like a cloud. Had he done something wrong? What's up? Nothing, she replied and padded on. J-Paw hurried after her. You know, that was pretty amazing what you did back there, she meowed. Her light tone didn't hide the anxiety sparking from her. Or was it excitement? Why was she so edgy? J-Paw shrugged. Aren't you supposed to do stuff like that at the moon pool? But this wasn't any old dream. You actually entered my dream. You saw what I saw. So? I've entered another cat's dream only once. When? J-Paw asked. Feathertail led me into Willowpaw's dream so that I could tell her where to find Catmint, Leafpool explained. But Feathertail was already with StarClan. She invited me in. You entered my dream on your own, without permission or knowledge of StarClan. With a shudder, J-Paw remembered the fierce stare of the broad-faced warrior. Are you sure they didn't know? They would have told me, Leafpool meowed. Why did you call Cinderpelt's name? J-Paw asked. Was there something you wanted to ask her? I just wanted to know if she was there, Leafpool mewed quietly. She didn't answer. No, she didn't. But she's dead, right? Where else would she be? J-Paw heard Leafpool's paw steps halt. She was expectant, anxious. He could feel it like rain in the air. What did you feel when you saw StarClan? She asked. Were you scared? Scared of a bunch of dead cats? They're your warrior ancestors, she reminded him. They have seen and heard more than you could ever imagine. Of course they've seen more. I'm blind, remember? You are not blind in your dreams, J-Paw. Tell me, apart from the journey to the moon pool, have you ever dreamed of anything else that has come true? J-Paw shrugged. Not really. Dreams are just dreams, aren't they? Not to every cat. Sometimes I dream about when I was very small, traveling through snow, he confessed. Is that right? That wasn't the great journey, was it? Tension crackled through Leafpool's fur. No, the great journey was long before you were born. But your mother did make a long journey with you through the snow when you were very small. You were born outside the hollow, and she had to wait until you were all strong enough to travel. J-Pa could feel Leafpool staring at him, turning something over in her mind, like a fish too huge to be hooked out of the water. What is it? He asked. I think you were destined to be a medicine cat, she meowed. Don't be silly, J-Pa retorted. I'm gonna be a warrior. But you entered my dream, Leafpool pointed out. J-Paw's tail shot up indignantly. You think I want to be stuck in camp worrying over kits and elders? Leafpool bristled. There's more to being a medicine cat than that. If there is, J-Paw snapped, let it be some other cat's destiny. I want to be out in the forest, hunting and fighting for my clan. You're just like Brightheart, always treating me differently just because I'm blind. I'm treating you differently because you can see StarClan in my dreams. I don't know any medicine cat with visions as powerful as that. J-Paw didn't want to listen anymore. He patted angrily ahead. I don't care about having stupid dreams, he called over his shoulder. I'm gonna be a warrior. Besides, you've already got Hollypaw, remember? You can't have 2 medicine cat apprentices. Oh, J-Paw! I love J-Paw. He's so blunt and straightforward. Just like, duh. He's so funny. I love him so much. I forgot like the implication like that she says there, like you can enter my dream without my or StarClan's permissions. It's so like ominous, you know, like you can actively spy. Freaky. He's just like, yeah, I saw. And it's like, dude, you're blind. What do you mean you saw? I know exactly. He's like, come on. I can see in my dreams. You're making a big deal out about anything. I can't ever remember if... Oh, never mind. I was just about to say something spoilery. Okay, I have to go to the bathroom really quick. So I'm going to be right back. Quick break between chapters. I'm back. I also ordered pizza. Got some pizza on the way. I went to the bathroom. I didn't get more to drink, but I did order root beer. It's just a simple pizza because I'm still a little sick. So it's, got like a normal pizza and then some spinach and salami on it. Spinach is healthy for you. And then we needed some salami too. For like, I don't know, protein. Woohoo! Spinach, protein, iron. I can hear my roommate talking, but I can't hear clear enough what she's talking. I think she's phoning her home. All right, let's not begin. Let's continue. Also, hi Valley. I think you left, but hi, Cheetah. Yay! Thank you. Thank you for that Chica pat. Oh, speaking of, I'm gonna try and set up some of those like cool effect things because I haven't messed around with it because I didn't know how to like set them up as like toggles and stuff, but I'm gonna do it and then we'll have cool toggles. Okay. Chapter 14. But all cats old enough to catch their own prey gather below the high ledge. Lionpaw jerked his head. Firestar called had woken him from his warm nest. It was dawn, and he could feel Berrypaw stirring beside him. Oh yeah, I saw that! It also, in the announcement, they also mentioned, if you read it, that, what was I about to say? That the one that had been confirmed before, like, there had been a movie that was, like, gonna be made, and apparently they had the script, and it had just started production, but then they stopped. So that's sad. But I hope that this one succeeds. I'm very excited. I hope it's not 3D, though. I really hope that it's, like, an animated, pretty thing. Like, maybe, like, I need Studio Trigger to to adopt it. They announced the studio? They did, actually. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I didn't look it up, though. They're pretty things for all the suffering the errands have been putting us through. True. What happened to my bows? Who took off my bows? Oh, you did, Cordy. Like, wait a second. When did that happen? Okay, I'm gonna continue reading. Oh, braids! Yay! I like my braids. Let's see. Linebaugh jerked his head. Firestar had woken him from his warm nest. It was dawn, and he could feel Berrypaw stirring beside him. J-Paw was already stretching, curling his tail back till the tip of his tail brushed his spine. What does Firestar want so early? He yawned. Clan meeting! Linepaw leaped to his paws. He hurried to be the first out of the den, squeezing ahead of his den mates. Stop pushing, Berrypaw complained. The fastest hunter catches the most mice, Lionpaw mewed cheerfully. The air outside the den hit him like the lash of the birch sapling. Frost glittered on the bushes around the edge of the camp, and the icy ground made Lionpaw's pads ache. Breath billowing, he trotted into the clearing, where the cats were already gathering, huddling close for warmth. Firestar sat on the high ledge, flanked by Brambleclaw and Graystripe. Brambleclaw's pelt shone, muscles beneath him taut. Graystripe's pelt was well-groomed, The knots and tangled smoothed out at last, but it was dull and all his ribs still showed beneath. He must have decided who the deputy should be, Hollypaw mewed, hurrying over from the medicine den and sitting down next to Lionpaw. She wriggled closer to him, shivering. J-Paw patted to join them, sitting beside Hollypaw. Graystripe and Bramaclaw are on the Highlands with Firestar, Hollypaw told him. I know, J-Paw answered sleepily. Lionpaw wondered why he looked so worn out when he had not been outside the hollow in days. Firestar's pelt glowed like fire in the cold dawn light as he gazed over his clan. Millie settled beside Fern's Cloud, her eyes round with curiosity. Sorreltail, Whitewing, and Cloudtail sat in front of her, Breakenfur and Thornclaw behind. The gray kitty pet no longer seemed intimidated by the warriors hemming her in and stared calmly up at Firestar. I know you've all been wondering what will happen now that our previous deputy has returned, the clan leader began. Graystripe wrapped his bushy tail tightly over his front paws. One of Brambleclaw's ears twitched. When we left the forest, I thought we would never see Graystripe again, Firestar confessed. There were many nights when I stared up at Silverpelt and tried to imagine him among our ancestors. Lionpaw glanced at Hollypaw and wondered what it would be like to lose her. He didn't like the feeling that stabbed in his belly. The ThunderClan leader went on. Graystripe was my deputy and my friend. I trained with him and I fought with him. I trusted him more than any cat. Having him back is like having one of my own lives restored. He's gonna make Graystripe deputy again, Hollypaw hissed under his breath. Wait, J-Paw warned. Lionpaw shot his brother a look. Why did he sound so certain? But Brambleclaw has helped me lead the clan through some of its most terrifying challenges. I've never seen him waver in his loyalty to his clanmates. The last thing ThunderClan needs now is more change. He paused and glanced at the two warriors. So I've decided that Brambleclaw should remain deputy. But the gasp escaped Breakenfur before he could stop it. Sorreltail echoed it, and mews of surprise rippled around the clan. Lionpaw searched Graystripe's face for some sign of regret, but he couldn't read the Grey Warrior's expression. Squirrelflight raised her voice happily. Brambleclaw! 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 Ashfur quickly joined in. Squirrelflight whipped her head around and stared at him. Why does she look so surprised? Lionpaw wondered. Dustpelt and Thornclaw started calling Brambleclaw's name too. Graystripe got to his paws and joined in, and Brambleclaw dipped his head respectfully to the former ThunderClan deputy. Told you so, J-Paw murmured. Lionpaw glanced suspiciously at his brother. How did you know? J-Paw shrugged. It was the wisest choice. Do you think Graystripe minds? Hollypaw whispered. Does it matter? J-Paw asked. You must know the clan has changed a lot, Lionpaw replied. But what about when he's fully recovered? Hollypaw persisted. Will he be happy just being a warrior? I think Firestar made the right decision. The meow made Lionpaw jump. He glanced up and saw Ashfur padding towards them. And you must be pleased that your father's still deputy, the warrior purred. Brambleclaw should be deputy, Lionpaw told him firmly. Graystripe doesn't know the territory yet. He'd be as lost as a WindClan kit in ShadowClan nursery. True. Ashfur nodded. And Graystripe is going to take another moon to recover, J-Paw put in. It still smells like crow food. He'll be strong soon enough, Hollypaw mewed defensively. Soon isn't good enough, Lionpaw argued. We need a strong deputy now. Leaf Bear's clearly not finished with us, and ShadowClan is never going to make our life easy. We can't afford to wait for Graystripe to recover. But he was deputy first, Hollypaw protested. Has everyone forgotten? When Mistyfoot was taken by Two Legs, Hawkfrost replaced her only until she returned, because according to the warrior code, she never stopped being the deputy. Your sister has a point, Ashfur commented. I know, but... Lionpaw was surprised at Hollypaw's fierceness. Firestar has to be practical. If we start ignoring the warrior code, then we are no longer warriors, Hollypaw declared. The fur along her spine was bristling, and her eyes glittered with anxiety. What if StarClan told Firestar to choose Brambleclaw? J-Paw asked softly. Brambleclaw was padding towards them, Berrypaw beside him. We're going hunting. Can we join? Ashfur asked. Of course, Brightheart and J-Paw are coming too, but if you don't mind a crowd, of course not. Ashfur narrowed his eyes. I just thought it might be fun for Lionpaw and Berrypaw to have a little competition. Possum, hi! Thank you for the raid! Yakuza! I'm reading right now, so I'm gonna be a little quiet, but I hope that you had a really wonderful time playing. I hope you saw the... Did you see Kason? I hope you did. Brambleclaw's eyes glittered. Good idea. Berrypaw clawed the ground excitedly. Oh, yes! Great! Lionpaw mewed. Okay, Brambleclaw decided. The first apprentice to catch 3 pieces of prey gets first pick from the fresh kill pile tonight. Lionpaw glanced at Berrypaw. His denmate was larger than he and more experienced. He would have to rely more on senses and speed if he was going to win. Brightheart and J-Paw joined them. Why do we need to go with them? J-Paw was complaining. I'm perfectly capable of hunting on my own. Pity flashed in Brightheart's eyes, and Lionpaw winced. J-Paw glared at his mentor as if he knew exactly what she was thinking. We'll go in a moment, Brambleclaw meowed. First, I want to ask Dustpelt and Birchfall to patrol Shadow Clan border. I'll meet you at the entrance. Before he padded away, the ThunderClan deputy glanced at Hollypaw. Shouldn't you be helping Leafpool? Yes. Hollypaw mewed hastily. She turned and slunk away, the tip of her black tail dragging over the ice-white clearing. So, you think you can beat me, do you? Berrypaw hissed in Lionpaw's ear. I caught a vole on my first hunting expedition, Lionpaw reminded him. Good, Berrypaw mewed. I'd hate to win too easily. You'd be lucky to win at all, Lionpaw growled. How's a tiny scrap like you gonna catch 3 bits of prey in one morning? Lionpaw wasn't gonna let his denmate get away with that. He crouched into an attack position, wriggling his hindcorners. Say that again, he challenged. You're hardly bigger than a mouse. Berrypaw purred. Lionpaw launched himself at the young Tom, and the 2 apprentices bundled towards the thorn barrier. Berrypaw's weight took Lionpaw by surprise. He scrambled to push the larger apprentice off, but Berrypaw heaved him towards the prickly spines of the thorn bush. Thinking quickly, Lionpaw let himself go limp, becoming so slippery that it was easy to wriggle out of Berrypaw's grip. Quick as a flash, he sprang onto Berrypaw's back and nipped his friend's scruff with his teeth. Berrypaw tried to shake him off, but even with his claws sheathed, Lionpaw found that he had the strength to hold his grip on Berrypaw's broad shoulders. Lionpaw! He looked up to see his sister charging back towards them. And in that instant, Berrypaw threw him off and pinned him to the ground. You're my first catch of the day, Berrypaw mewed triumphantly. Hollypaw put me off, Lionpaw complained. A good warrior's never distracted, Ashfur meowed. The pale gray warrior had stopped to watch the 2 apprentices. Lionpaw scrambled to his paws, prickling with embarrassment. Hollypaw was trotting around them in circles. Leafpool wants me to collect some tansy in case the cold weather brings white cough, she panted excitedly. She says there's a clump by the old Thunderpath, and she said I could join your patrol to fetch some. She looked around. Where's Brambleclaw? Giving orders to Dustpelt, Ashfur answered. As he spoke, Brambleclaw bounded over from the half-rock. Graystripe was with him. Mind if I join you? The Grey Warrior asked Ashfur. I want to get familiar with the territory and see how the prey runs here. It's fine with me, Ashfur agreed. He nodded at Hollypaw. We've got an extra apprentice, too. Lionpaw hadn't been out with both Hollypaw and J-Paw since the attempt to track down the fox cubs. Oh, they were fox cubs, not badger cubs. Fox cubs. They quickly fell in their familiar grouping. Hollypaw paw step ahead, and Lionpaw letting his pelt brush against J-Paw's just enough to help him through the trees. They headed deep into the forest, picking up the clearest route along the old Thunder Path. Lionpaw had been along it before, and Ashfur had showed him around ThunderClan territory, but he had never followed it all the way past the abandoned 2-leg nest. Hollypaw was scanning the undergrowth on either side of the track. Looks a lot like yarrow, J-Paw whispered to her ear, but it tastes more like grass than mouse bile. I know! Hollypaw snapped. Why was J-Paw helping her? Lionpaw wondered. Hollypaw was the medicine cat apprentice, not him. She flicked her tail towards a clump of long-stemmed plants with thin, spiky leaves. That's it, isn't it? We found some? Brambleclaw halted in the middle of the path. The cats waited as Hollypaw bit into a leaf. She narrowed her eyes thoughtfully, then swallowed. Not bitter at all, she reported. It's tansy. You better collect some and take it back to camp, Brambleclaw meowed. Hollypaw's eyes clouded with disappointment. Leafpool doesn't need it right away. It might not be safe for her to go back to camp on her own, Linepaw pointed out, guessing his sister wanted a chance to stay out for a while. Not with that. What are the fox cubs about? And don't forget the competition, Ashfur meowed. We don't want you to waste time escorting her back. If you're sure Leafpool doesn't need it urgently? Brambleclaw prompted the Hollypaw. Her eyes brightened. It was only for the store. We'll collect some on our way back then, Brambleclaw agreed. He leapt away, heading into the shadowy woods. Lionpaw waited on the Thunderpath for Jaypaw and Brightheart to disappear among the trees with the others before following them in. Even in Leafbear, the undergrowth here was thick, but without their leafy coverings, the plants looked like tall, thin skeletons littering the forest floor. Linepaw's breath came in clouds as the patrol padded quietly over the frozen ground. I should check something there. Greystripe turned back to face them. There's no scent of fox here, he meowed, and not too much cover for prey. This looks like a good spot to start the hunt. Ashfur looked from Berrypaw to Lionpaw. Who wants to go first? There's a mouse over there, Jaypaw announced casually. For the first time, Lionpaw wondered if his brother felt left out of the hunting contest. But Jaypaw held his chin high and flicked his tail towards the base of an old oak several fox lengths away. Ashfur jerked his head around in surprise. It's dug under the frozen leaves on the ground, Jaypaw told them. Lionpaw pricked his ears. Sure enough, he could hear the scrabble of tiny paws against the cold earth, though very faintly. And there was the musty scent of freshly turned leaf litter in the air. Lionpaw, Brambleclaw hissed quietly, you have a try. One stealthy paw step at a time, Lionpaw crept towards the scuffling noise. He let each pad sink slowly into the hard ground so that his steps made no sound. The scuffling carried on as Leafpaw drew close enough to drop into a hunting crouch. Squatting, his muzzle outstretched, he let his tail rest on the earth behind him. He could smell the mouse now and saw the slight movement in the leaves. Brambleclaw! The mouse scuttled out from the leaves and disappeared among the roots of a tree. Hissing with anger, Lionpaw spun around to see who had ruined his catch. Birchfall exploded from the undergrowth and skidded to a halt. ShadowClan have moved the border! They've put a new line of scent markers inside ThunderClan territory! Where? Brambleclaw demanded. I'll show you. Without waiting, Birchfall headed away through the trees. Where's Dustpelt? Brambleclaw called after him. Heading back to camp to warn Firestar, came the reply. Brambleclaw turned to Brightheart. You better come with us. I'm not risking leaving you while those fox cubs are still around. Brightheart narrowed her eyes. What about Jaypaw? Will he be able to keep up? Don't let him out of your sight and keep as close to us as you can, Brambleclaw ordered. He glanced at Ashfur. Stay near them. Then he nodded to Greystripe. Come with me. Brambleclaw bounded after Birchfall, Greystripe following. Lionpaw pelted after them, the mouse forgotten. Hollypaw raced at his side. He could hear the paw steps of Ashfur, Brightheart, and Jaypaw pounding behind. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw his brother weaving through the trees as easily as a sighted cat. He must be guided by StarClan, he thought in astonishment. He turned back to look ahead, his pelt bristling as he ran. Had ShadowClan really dared to move the border? Birchfell led them back along the Thunderpath before veering into the forest and up the slope that led to the ShadowClan border. He skidded to a halt near the top. Here! He gasped, flicking his tail to indicate the line of birches that followed the ridge. Lionpaw sniffed the nearest trunk and wrinkled his nose. It was true. ShadowClan had marked ThunderClan trees. This isn't the original border? Greystripe asked. No! Brambleclaw hissed. The border is there. He pointed his muzzle to the top of the rise where the trees gave way to the grassy clearing. Did they think we wouldn't notice? Hollypaw spat. Ashfur raced out of the break-in behind them, followed by Brightheart and Greystripe. Jaypaw's hackles rose. ShadowClan warriors are nearby, he warned. Once he spoke, 3 ShadowClan cats stalked over the rise and stood staring down at the ThunderClan patrol. Oakfur! Brambleclaw hissed, staring at the small brown Tom who led the trio. Lionpaw recognized the two others from the gathering, Owlpaw and his mentor, Smokefoot. A blind kit noticed us before ThunderClan deputy knew we were here, Oakfur sneered. How humiliating. Is ThunderClan so desperate for warriors that it needs to chain even its most worthless kit? Snarled Smokefur. J-Paw rushed forward, spitting. Brightheart grabbed his tail in her teeth and hauled him backwards. A blind kit saved by a one-eyed warrior, mocked Oakfur. ThunderClan isn't what it used to be, filled with kitty pets and cripples and worn-out deputies. He glared at Graystripe. You've moved the border, Brambleclaw growled. We've taken what should be ours, and we will take more, Smokefoot told him. ThunderClan is hardly a real clan anymore. It's half kitty pet, Oakfur put in. I'm sure StarClan agrees only true warriors are entitled to hunt on clan territory. ThunderClan has nothing but true warriors, Brambleclaw yowled. He flattened his ears and stepped over the new marker line until it was only a tail length away. He was only a tail length away from Oakfur. If you want our territory, you'll have to fight for it every step. Lionpaw's fur stood on end. His first real battle! He sank his claws into the earth, imagining it was ShadowClan's fur. Are you sure we won't win? Oakfur's eyes glittered as more ShadowClan warriors began to appear over the rise, lining up like starlings on a branch. Lionpaw's heart flipped over. It looked as though every ShadowClan warrior had come to fight. Their muscles bulged under their pelts, their claws glinting as they flexed them against the hard ground. Lionpaw felt fur brush his flank. Hollypaw and Jaypaw had joined him. We fight as one, Hollypaw vowed. Lionpaw suddenly pictured the three of them, 3 half-grown apprentices, one of them blind, facing what looked like the whole of ShadowClan. StarClan, help us! Oh, I found tigers living in my own Warrior Wednesday. Nice! I love tigers! Sounds amazing. I love this refreshing kit banter. I've had too much Warrior POV lately. Oh, bad apprentice. True. Oakfur, I'm pretty sure you were a child when Brightheart was turned around trying to act like he's so much better. She's lived so far. She knows how to fight. Chapter 15. Get back to camp until Firestar to bring help, Graystripe hiss sounded into Lionpaw's ear. Now! Lionpaw turned and pelted away into the trees. He hated leaving Jaypaw and Hollypaw, but without help, the battle was already lost. Stop him! He heard Russet Fur's yowl and the rustle of paws upon leaves. Lionpaw glanced over his shoulder. 2 ShadowClan warriors streaked towards him. Then he saw a flash of gray fur. Graystripe had launched himself onto one of the cats. The ShadowClan warrior yowled and the air exploded as the 2 clans charged, screeching into battle. Lionpaw forced himself to run faster till he thought his heart would burst. Paws pounded behind him. Only one set now, thanks to Graystripe. Lionpaw dodged through a thick bramble swath, hoping that his small size would let him escape the ShadowClan warrior. But as he slipped out of the other side and glanced backwards, he saw a burly Tom thrusting his way through the bush with terrifying strength. Lionpaw hurled himself down the steep slope to the training hollow and pelted across it. Just a short way through the trees, and then a clear run to the camp entrance. ShadowClan warriors' paw steps were thundering ever closer as Lionpaw caught sight of the thorn barrier ahead. Help! He wailed. Claws raked his tail. The ShadowClan cat was at his heels. Wild with terror, Lionpaw dug his claws in and propelled himself forward. A fiery flash of fur streaked from the thorn tunnel and flew past Lionpaw. I'll stop him! Squirrelflight yowled, lunging for the ShadowClan warrior. The Tom let out an agonized shriek. Lionpaw slowed, his breath coming in great gulps. He turned and saw Squirrelflight chasing the ShadowClan warrior up the bank, snarling as if all the warriors of StarClan raced beside her. Lionpaw hurled into camp. ShadowClan have invaded! Firestar was in the clearing with Dustpelt. He bounded to Lionpaw's side as soon as he saw him. Dustpelt told me they've moved the border, he mewed. Brambleclaw took our hunting patrol to investigate, Linepaw puffed, but we walked into an ambush. Firestar's eyes widened with alarm. Are they fighting now? Linepaw nodded, his paws trembling as he thought of J-Paw and Hollypaw battling experienced ShadowClan warriors. Sandstorm, Spiderleg, Whitewing, Stormfur, Brook. Firestar called to the warriors who were already pacing around the edge of the clearing, lashing their tails. ShadowClan have crossed the border. Brambleclaw is holding them off, but they need help. Should I bring Mousepaw? Spiderleg asked. If he's battle ready. Firestar answered. Scoreflight raced back through the entrance. There's one less ShadowClan cat to warrior to deal with, she announced. I'll not want to fight again today. Good work. I want you to stay and guard camp, Firestar told her. Scoreflight nodded. Yes, Firestar. Millie appeared from behind the warrior's den. I'm coming with you. Linepaw stared at her in astonishment. She was a kitty pet. Okay, Firestar agreed, but don't take any risks. Linepaw was still trembling with terror and exhaustion. Firestar looked at him. Are you fit to fight? Linepaw nodded. Good, Firestar growled. Your brother and sister need you. Then he swept out of camp, his warriors following. Linepaw pelted after the patrol. How dare ShadowClan invade our territory? He would fight tooth and claw to drive those fox-hearted warriors out. His paws stopped shaking and began to itch for battle. Always keep an eye out behind you, Whitewing fell in beside him to give him some breathless advice. ShadowClan fight dirty. You're fast and strong, even though you're small. You'll be nimbler than some of their warriors. Use that to your advantage. As they neared the border, they heard screeches and yowls. This way, Firestar called. They plunged through the forest until Linepaw could glimpse teeth and claws flashing in the gaps between the trees ahead. ShadowClan warriors had surrounded Brambleclaw's patrol, and the ThunderClan cats were standing their ground, lashing out at every cat within reach. Attack! Firestar cried, and the ThunderClan warriors spread out and launched themselves into battle. Head over there! Spiderleg called to Linepaw. He flicked his tail to the edge of the fighting. Look for J-Paw first and do what you can to defend him. Linepaw raced forward, scanning the fray for Hollypaw and J-Paw. He spotted Ashfur and Birchfall fighting side by side with Brightheart, fending off 4 ShadowClan warriors. J-Paw crouched behind them, pelt bristling with rage, slashing and jabbing at any ShadowClan warrior who made it through their defense line. He didn't seem to need any help. Linepaw's heart thudded as he searched for Hollypaw's black pelt. Had she been wounded? Relief glimmered for a moment when she saw her fighting beside Greystripe. The Grey Warrior, ears flattened, his lip drawn back into a vicious snarl, raked the flank of a dark ginger ShadowClan warrior as it lunged for Hollypaw. Rassitfur! Linepaw recognized the ShadowClan deputy. Hollypaw ducked under Greystripe and shot out from beneath him, nipping the ShadowClan deputy on her hind leg with such ferocity that the warrior whipped around, claws flashing, and lunged at Hollypaw. Linepaw pelted to his sister's defense, hurling himself at Rassitfur and slashing her nose. The ShadowClan deputy howled in pain as crimson blood welled beneath her eyes. Nice work, Greystripe called. As he spoke, 2 ShadowClan cats slammed into him, knocking him onto the ground. The larger of the pair, a black tom, pressed him to the ground, while the smaller white she-cat reared on her hind legs, flexing her long claws, ready to crush down on Greystripe's head. Orange fur blazed past Linepaw as Firestar flew at the white warrior. He threw the ShadowClan warrior backwards and slashed her cheek with a well-aimed blow. Bro's like, that's my guy. Don't touch him. Linepaw leapt onto the black tom who was pinning Greystripe to the ground. He dug in his claws and bit hard into the tom's shoulder. The warrior let go of Greystripe and reared backwards. At once, Hollypaw darted behind him and knocked the tom's paws out from under him. Linepaw leapt off as the warrior crashed down. Great move! Linepaw called to Hollypaw. He's not finished yet, she warned. The black tom was already on his paws, hissing ferociously, but Linepaw and Hollypaw faced him side by side, and, jabbing and slashing with their forepaws, they drove him back towards the border until he was panting and streaked with blood. Suddenly, Linepaw spotted Oakfur slinking through the break-in towards Firestar, a fox length away. The ThunderClan leader still had the white warrior pinned to the ground, unaware of Oakfur's stealthy approach. Before Linepaw could warn him, Oakfur had leapt onto Firestar's back and grabbed the ThunderClan leader's neck in his jaws. The white warrior struggled from Firestar's grip and nipped his front paws until the ThunderClan leader fell to the ground. He vanished beneath two snarling ShadowClan warriors. Can you manage by yourself? Lionpaw screeched to Hollypaw. I'll help her, Graystripe growled, leaping in beside her. Lionpaw threw himself at Oakfur, clamping his jaws around the ShadowClan warrior's tail. This is for calling J-Paw worthless, he thought as he bit down with all his strength. Oakfur screeched and let go of Firestar. Firestar leapt to his paws and whipped around to grab Oakfur by the scruff. As he held Oakfur in his jaws, he kicked out with his powerful hind legs and sent the white warrior sprawling into the break-in. Then he flung Oakfur with all his might against a tree. Dang, Firestar, bruh. Oakfur hit with such force that the branches trembled and he fell to the ground, dazed. Seeing that Firestar was safe, Lionpaw turned back to Hollypaw. He expected to see her still fighting beside Graystripe, but she stood alone in a space among the battling cats. Graystripe had left her undefended. Watch out! Lionpaw gasped. His heart lurched as he saw Smokefor rushing up behind his sister. Graystripe was 2 tail lengths away, pulling a ShadowClan warrior off Millie. The former kitty pet leapt to her paws. Go back and help Hollypaw, Millie yowled to Graystripe. I can take care of myself. She lashed out with her front claws at the ShadowClan warrior and sent him screeching away with a blow that sprayed his blood across the forest floor. Smokefor was on top of Hollypaw, raking his claws along her flank. The Graystripe wrestled him to the ground and pummeled his belly with his thorn-sharp hind claws. Lionpaw darted to Hollypaw's side as Smokefoot yowled in pain, and Graystripe let the Tom flee across the border. Drop the rest into the brambles, Graystripe ordered. What? Spiderleg yowled in disbelief. That'll only make it harder to fight them, Birchfall called. Harder for ShadowClan, Hollypaw hissed in Lionpaw's ear. They don't have brambles in the fine forest. Firestar nodded grimly. They're not used to fighting in undergrowth, he called. Do as Graystripe says. Everyone, spread out behind me. Brambleclaw's order split the air, and he spun around so that his back was to the ShadowClan border. The ThunderClan cats drew away from their enemy long enough to reposition themselves around their deputy. Confused, the ShadowClan warriors stared about them. Suddenly, they were trapped on the wrong side of their border. Then Brambleclaw charged forward, his warriors flanking him on either side, and they began to press the ShadowClan warriors deeper into ThunderClan territory, where a tangle of brambles covered the forest floor. Lionpaw spotted J-Paw lashing out at Owlpaw. The ShadowClan apprentice was playing with J-Paw, ducking the blows and teasing him with jabs and taunts. That's so... Wow. Oh my god. Lionpaw raced to his brother's side. You're nothing but a coward, he growled at Owlpaw. Owlpaw thrashed his tail. I'll show you I'm not a coward. He lashed out and caught J-Paw's muzzle with his claw. J-Paw gasped with pain, but he didn't recoil, flailing his unsheathed claws more fiercely than ever. He's ducking, Lionpaw hissed to his brother. J-Paw instantly aimed his blows downward and raked Owlpaw's ears. J-Paw gave out a yowl of satisfaction. He's trying to get behind you now, Lionpaw warned as Owlpaw scooted past J-Paw and balanced himself, ready to leap at the tabby apprentice. Lionpaw spun around, every instinct crying out to take out Owlpaw on himself. But he knew J-Paw would never forgive him for fighting his battle for him, and besides, J-Paw had already turned nimbly around and was pummeling Owlpaw with his forepaws. Owlpaw tried to duck, but J-Paw had learned that trick, and the instant Owlpaw lowered his head, J-Paw leaped on top of him and rolled the ShadowClan apprentice onto his back. He clung to his fur and raked his hind claws along Owlpaw's spine until the ShadowClan apprentice begged for mercy. Get off! He shrieked, and J-Paw let him go. Owlpaw scrambled to his feet and spat at J-Paw, ready to attack again, but Lionpaw fixed him with a threatening stare, and Owlpaw, faced by the pair of them, backed away, snarling. ShadowClan warriors were beginning to trip on the brambles, struggling as much against the thorns that clawed their pelts as against the ThunderClan warriors, who were forcing them further and further into the bush. Sunstorm's tail lashed triumphantly as a ShadowClan warrior cowered beneath her blows. Beside her, Whitewing nipped at a mottled apprentice, and as he tried to battle past her out of the clinging thorns. Brook and Stormfur worked together, jabbing at Smokefoot with merciless claws as he struggled further into the brambles to escape them. Russetfur stared in dismay at her warriors thrashing helplessly in the undergrowth. Retreat! She yowled. The Shadow Clan cats scrambled out of the brambles, leaving clumps of fur behind as they pelted past the ThunderClan warriors and fled back into their own territory. Linepaw scanned the battered ThunderClan cats. Hollypaw! I'm over here! Hollypaw squirmed backwards out of the undergrowth, her bushy tail pricked with thorns. Is everyone okay? Firestar staggered out, his muzzle crimson with blood. Sandstorms twisted her paw. Brambleclaw was standing beside the ginger-colored warrior as she licked at a forepaw. It's just a sprain, she reassured him. Stormfur? Firestar looked at the gray warrior. That looks like a bad cut in your shoulder. It'll heal. I've lost a chunk of fur from my tail, Spiderleg spat. But it was worth it if ShadowClan thinks twice before trying to steal our territory again. We need to make sure they're all gone, Firestar meowed. I'll check, Brooke offered. Are you injured? Just a torn ear. Then take Spiderleg with you and search beyond the brambles, Firestar ordered. Make sure no cat went further into our territory. Spiderleg and Brooke haired away through the trees. Ashfur flicked Lionpaw's shoulder with his tail. Thanks, StarClan, you got help so quickly. You held out well till we came, Firestar praised him. Hollypaw fought like a warrior, Birchfall commented. And Javepaw never gave ground, Brightheart added. We couldn't let ShadowClan drive us out of our own territory, Greystripe growled. Brambleclaw gazed across the clearing where the ShadowClan cats had fled. We're gonna have to do something about ShadowClan before the next gathering, he vowed. Let's start by remarking the correct boundaries, Firestar ordered. Brambleclaw, you stay here with Ashfur and Birchfall. Brambleclaw, you stay here with Ashfur and Birchfall and mark every tree twice along the border. Brambleclaw nodded. I'll take the rest back to camp. Can't I stay with Ashfur? Linepaw begged. Ashfur shook his head. Go back to camp and get some ointment for those scratches. I want you back in training as soon as possible. Pretend I said that with a gruff voice. Reluctantly, Lionpaw turned and followed his clanmates. Sandstorm was limping, and Stormfur kept stopping to lick at the blood welling from the wound on his shoulder. Millie's pelt was missing clumps of fur along her flank, but she was buzzing with the excitement that came from winning a battle, her ears pricked and tail twitching. Linepaw caught up with Jaypaw and Hollypaw. Did you see me jump on oak fur? He mewed proudly. I wish I had. Hollypaw sounded even more excited than he felt. I was too busy seeing that tabby warrior. Her eyes were glowing. I used the move Cinderpaw taught me the other day. It was brilliant for real. And you showed Owlpaw that he was no match for a ThunderClan apprentice, Lionpaw mewed to Jaypaw. The molted apprentice was padding along quietly, tail down. Yeah, right, he muttered. Hollypaw! Leafpool had come to meet the returning warriors. Are there any serious injuries? Hollypaw blinked. Stormfur has a scratch? She stammered. Have you checked? Leafpool asked anxiously. Everyone can still walk. What about the tansy? Leafpool pursued. Did you find any? Oh, yes! Leafpool looked at her questioningly. Where is it? Hollypaw looked crestfallen. We were going to pick some up on our way back from hunting, and then Birchfall arrived to warn us that ShadowClan had moved the border, and Brambleclaw ordered us to... It's okay. Leafpool meowed. I'm proud that you fought with your clanmates, but keep a lookout for any healing herbs on the way back to camp. There'll be plenty of bites and scratches to treat when we get home, and I'm going to check on the others. Hollypaw gazed at the undergrowth. Do you think that juniper would do? She murmured as they passed a large bush dotted with dark berries. The horsetail growing next to it would be better, Jaypaw advised. Hollypaw closed her eyes. Horsetail, good for infections, she recited. Then she hurried over to the clumps of spindly plants and tore one out by its roots. Hollypaw could feel his scratches begin to sting. His muscles ached from the battle, and when they reached the camp, he padded to the half-rock and collapsed beside it. Jaypaw climbed onto the smooth, low rock and hung his head over the side, while Hollypaw dropped the horsetail she'd been dragging and flopped down beside them. I still can't believe we fought real warriors, she breathed. Jaypaw just stared blankly at the ground. Why are you looking so miserable? Linepaw asked him. You fought brilliantly. Only with your help, Jaypaw pointed out. Every warrior needs help. That's what it's like being in a clan, Hollypaw reminded him. We had to work together to drive off one of ShadowClan's warriors. I couldn't even manage an apprentice by myself. J-Paw mewed, flicking the tip of his tail. They called me a worthless kid. Perhaps they're right. Perhaps I'm just kidding myself, thinking I'll ever be a real warrior. Hollypaw! Leafpool called from the clearing where the rest of the patrol were licking their wounds. I can't see to all these injured warriors by myself. Hollypaw leapt to her paws. Coming, Leafpool! She mewed. Sorry! She stripped the leaf from the horsetail and scrambled over to where Millie and Graystripe lay. Lionpaw longed to cheer J-Paw up, but this was one battle his brother would have to fight by himself. However much he prayed to StarClan, there was nothing Lionpaw could do to help J-Paw see. At least Hollypaw had enjoyed the fight with ShadowClan. Lionpaw watched her, letting his weary paws rest as she chewed up the horsetail leaf and began licking the juices into Millie's scratches. Every time Millie flinched, Hollypaw leapt away, screwing up her face. A small worry began to flutter like a trapped bird in Lionpaw's belly. Hollypaw seemed so ill at ease now, her awkward movements nothing like the fluid grace with which she fought. She'd raced into battle, her eyes glowing at the challenge, but here she was fumbling among her injured clanmates, her gaze shadowed by uncertainty. A strange thought pricked Lionpaw like a thorn in his bedding. Does Hollypaw really want to be a medicine cat? These are the questions. Poor J-Paw, I know. Oh my god. Can you imagine, like, knowing every single battle you're gonna go into, the other side is gonna make fun of you being there, fighting? Like, maybe not even picking you because you'd be too easy to, like, fight, you know? Like, not even bothering with you? Man. The peas is here. The peas is here, but why we another chapter? Chapter 16. Technically, we haven't read 100 pages yet, so I think it's okay. Chapter 16. Squirrelflight, take Cloudtail, Cinderpaw, Thornclaw, and Poppypaw and bring back as much fresh kill as you can. J-Paw lay on the half-rock and listened as Firestar gave the order. Our warriors will be hungry tonight. J-Paw dangled his tired paws over the edge of the half-rock, feeling the cold stones soothe his aching body. The battle had left him battered and scratched, but he could tend to his own wounds. Leafpool left a trail of marigold scent in her wake as she went to apply a salve to the scratches on Storm for his shoulder. Hollypaw was busy treating Millie, though J-Paw was confused why he detected revulsion rather than concern pulsing through his sister's paws as she applied the pungent horsetail balm. Something was upsetting her, but he was too busy with his own thoughts to probe Hollypaws much further. He wondered if he could have beaten Owlpaw without Lionpaw's help. Stubbornly, he told himself that he could. He'd been able to pinpoint the ShadowClan apprentice by the scent and sound, but a nagging doubt gnawed at his belly. The battle had been so fast. He just hadn't been able to keep up. The sound of Owlpaw's breath in one ear had not warned him of the fierce jab that had raked the other. The thud of the ShadowClan apprentice's paws on the leaves had been drowned by the cries of the other warriors, and J-Paw had twisted and spun, only to find Owlpaw had darted around him already and was clawing him from behind. He would never be a warrior. It was the one thing he wanted above all. But he had to accept that he couldn't fight alone. Fury raged inside him like a badger cornered in its set. I don't know of any medicine cat with visions as powerful as that. Leafpool's words echoed in his head. I think that you were destined to be a medicine cat. All his life he had imagined growing up to being a warrior. Why would he feel that way if StarClan had planned another destiny for him? Brambleclaw! Firestar welcomed his deputy back into the camp. J-Paw had been so lost in his own thoughts that he hadn't noticed his father's return. We've remarked the trees and covered the stench of ShadowClan, Brambleclaw reported. Something was bothering him. J-Paw could sense hesitation tripping his father's tongue. Oakford claimed ShadowClan had a right to our territory because ThunderClan had so many cats who were not... Brambleclaw paused awkwardly. Who are not clan-born. So, ShadowClan still believe a cat must be clan-born to become a warrior, Firestar growled. I told him that every cat in ThunderClan is a warrior, Brambleclaw meowed. Good. Firestar raised his voice so that every cat in the clearing could hear him. There is not a single cat in ThunderClan who does not deserve to be here. Anxiety flashed from Dustpelt. But there is truth in what ShadowClan says. The Tappy warrior's words cracked the air like a stone hitting ice. ThunderClan has taken on more cats than any other. That alone leaves us open to criticism from other clans. Stormfur got to his paws. Do we care what other clans think? He snarled. I was raised in RiverClan, but does any cat here doubt my loyalty to ThunderClan? Your father was a ThunderClan warrior, Dustpelt pointed out. You have ThunderClan blood. And what about those of us who don't? Hazelpaw protested, her soft gray and white pelt bristling. I was born in the horse place, berry pond, mouse paw. Does any cat think we're not worthy to train as warriors? Of course not, Graystripe called. Belonging has nothing to do with blood. I was born pure ThunderClan, and yet I am more of a stranger here now than any cat. Millie was a kitty pet only moons ago, but she fought as hard as Firestar to drive off ShadowClan today. And so did Brooke. His eyes flashed towards the tribe cat, who blinked her thanks. Sorreltail mewed loudly in agreement. Loyalty is proven by what we do, not by where we came from. J-Paw jerked his head up. He could sense doubt pulsing from Hollypaw. Horsetail balm still fragrant on her paws. But the warrior code tells us we should drive strangers from our territory, she mewed uncertainly. We have taken in any cat who has asked for help, Firestar meowed. Does the warrior code condemn us for showing mercy? No, murmured Hollypaw. And every cat we have taken in has helped make ThunderClan stronger, Firestar went on. Mews of agreement rose from the other cats. But, Firestar added, Brambleclaw is right to tell me what ShadowClan has said. When have we let the other clans tell us what to do? Graystripe challenged. Never. And at the next gathering I will make it clear that ThunderClan's business is its own, Firestar promised. We will defend our borders as we have done and let no clan interfere with our decision. A ripple of approval passed around the hollow, but J-Paw still sensed tension. He knew from furtive, worried whispers that he was not the only cat who wondered how ThunderClan's mixed blood might change the way the other clans saw them, or even the way StarClan thought of them. The other apprentices were asleep, the air sighing with their gentle breathing, but J-Paw was wide awake. Leafpool's words still haunted him. He kept trying to persuade himself that he could learn how to be a warrior, that his fighting skills would improve, but every time he thought it, the hope became hollower. He would go to Moonpool. Perhaps there would be an answer for him there. Quietly, he slipped out of the den. An icy wind stirred the bare branches of the trees. He would need to move very quietly, because every sound would travel far. Breakenfur was guarding the camp entrance. J-Paw could smell his scent. The warrior turned him back, and he would find another way out of camp. You're out late, Breakenfur observed. I can't sleep. It can be like that after a battle, Breakenfur meowed. I'm going into the forest. J-Paw waited for surprise to flash from Breakenfur, but the warrior did not flinch. You want me to go with you? He offered. Brooke won't mind starting her watch early. No thanks. You need some time alone, Breakenfur guessed. J-Paw nodded, and Breakenfur went on. At least it's quiet tonight. I'll keep my ears pricked for you, just in case. Thanks, Breakenfur. J-Paw was relieved that he had at least one clanmate who didn't fuss over him as though he were a newborn kid. I'll be back as soon as I can, he called as he padded away from the entrance. As he climbed the slopes, the leaves slippery with frost beneath his paws, J-Paw started to feel less eaten up with anxious thoughts. The noisy buzz and flow of the clan, which invaded his senses like mosquitoes nipping at his ears, was gone. He followed the route he'd taken with Leafpool towards WindClan territory. The memory of it seemed burned into his paws as they retraced the path that grazed the WindClan border and led up into the hills. His ears were sharp enough to hear the tumbling of the stream before his paws felt the ground turn to rock. His nose twitched, smelling for danger, but he sensed nothing other than clean, fresh air rolling down from the mountains. He followed the stream steadily upwards until he was scrambling up the rocks that led to the bushes circling the hollow. The whispering voices, the soft walking cats who weren't there, surrounded him again. Their presence was oddly reassuring, as if they'd come to welcome him. J-Paw paused at the top of the spiring path. Though his eyes saw nothing, he could clearly picture the sloping walls of the hollow and the pool below cradling the moon. The whispers grew louder until it became a droning purr that echoed around the rocks. As he followed the path down to the moon pool, his ears twitched, straining to make out words from the murmuring sighs. "You're welcome, J-Paw. Come, J-Paw." Scents flooded around him, the scents of cats he had no memory of, yet who seemed familiar. "Dream with us, J-Paw." A pelt brushed his and then another's as the cats guided him down to the pool. A faint memory stirred of long, snowy journey where his mother's voice had comforted him and two soft pelts had urged him on. J-Paw stopped at the edge of the pool and lay down on the smooth stone. Closing his eyes, he touched the water with his nose. He opened his eyes and found himself in lush woodland. Trees soared into the blue sky above his head. Ferns unfurled their arching fronds above his back. Warm air, carrying the fresh scents of the forest, lapped at his fur. Everywhere thrummed with damp green life. "Blue Star," he called. "Lionheart? Cinderpelt?" Perhaps he could contact Leafpool's mentor where Leafpool had failed. But there was no reply. Frustrated, J-Paw stood up and wandered into the trees. Why had all those voices welcomed him into the hollow and then not come to greet him? He felt a twinge of resentment. Why did StarClan have to make everything so difficult? He only wanted to know if he was meant to be a medicine cat. At least he felt warm here, and safe, and he could see. He began to run and found his paws carrying him so swiftly through the trees he felt as if he were flying. He raced beneath the ferns, listening to the slightest whisper of the leaves and smelling the forest scents that wafted on the very edge of his consciousness. Suddenly, he sensed emptiness ahead. No scent, no sound. His fur pricked with unease, and he slowed his pace. Through the gaps in trees, he could see a wall of mist blocking his way. He padded forward, and the mist began to swirl about his paws. He noticed that the undergrowth was becoming thinner. The trees around him grew stiff and lifeless, their branches too high for a cat to reach. J-Paw? His pelt stood on end, and he scanned the murky forest up ahead. Gradually, he made out a figure that seemed familiar. The broad shoulders and wide muzzle reminded him of his father, Brambleclaw. "J-Paw!" the voice called again. A second figure loomed from the shadows and stood beside the first, outlined against the fog. They shared the same strong shoulders and broad muzzle. "Yes?" J-Paw mewed. His voice sounded tiny among the trees. The two cats approached him and stopped, their tabby pelts as dark as the shadows beyond the trees. "Welcome. Don't be afraid. We are kin," the larger cat meowed. "I am Tiger Star, your father's father, and this is his brother, Hogfrost." J-Paw stared at the cats in astonishment. He had heard nursery stories about Tiger Star and the terrible things he had done. What were they doing here? Why had they come to him? "It's good to meet you at last," Tiger Star meowed, his eyes glittering. "Brambleclaw's blessed to have 3 fine kits," Hawkfrost added. "We watched you in battle earlier," Tiger Star purred. "I'm glad to see you have inherited your father's skill." Hawkfrost glanced at his father. "And yours, Tiger Star," he meowed. J-Paw narrowed his eyes. Why were they complimenting him when they must know he couldn't fight as well as he wanted to? As though reading his thoughts, Tiger Star went on. "We can teach you how to improve your skills if you like," he offered, his voice smooth as honey. J-Paw searched the massive Tom's gaze, hunting out the sentiment that lay behind his words. To his surprise, he found murky darkness where he would normally have sensed feeling and thought. He shifted his paws uneasily. "I'm not sure I want to become a warrior," he confessed. "How can any kin of mine say such a thing?" Tiger Star snorted. "It's bad enough I have to watch Mouthwing wasting her talents as a medicine cat." His whiskers twitched. At least Hollypaw is finally starting to realize that her destiny does not lie in pandering to the weak and the sick. "Hollypaw?" J-Paw echoed. What did Tiger Star know about his sister's destiny? Why don't you let us teach you some fighting moves? Hawkfrost urged. Once you see how easy they are for you, you'll realize that you were born to lead your clanmates in battle. Not spend all your time in camp with herbs and policies. J-Paul flicked his tail. Brightheart hadn't taught him anything about fighting. She obviously thought it was a waste of time training a blind cat. He might have done better in the battle against ShadowClan if she'd showed him some moves. Perhaps these two cats really could help him. A swish in the ferns far behind him made J-Paw glance over his shoulder. Who's there? Tigerstar called. I've come to fetch J-Paw back where he belongs. J-Paw recognized the mew at once, and as the cat emerged through the mist, he recognized the pretty tortoiseshell pelt as well. Spotted Leaf, he mewed. Spotted Leaf nodded, but did not take her eyes off Tigerstar and Hawkfrost. Do you know this cat? Tigerstar asked J-Paw. She helped me when I fell over a cliff, J-Paw explained. You shouldn't have wandered this far, J-Paw, Spotted Leaf warned him. Nor should you. Tigerstar glared at the medicine cat. How did you cross the border? I came with the permission of StarClan, Spotted Leaf replied, meeting his gaze with a challenging stare. Did they give J-Paw permission too? Tigerstar inquired, tipping his head to one side. Spotted Leaf did not answer. Instead, she looked at J-Paw. Come back with me, she ordered. What about Tigerstar and Hawkfrost? Can they come too? They have chosen their own path, Spotted Leaf replied. She turned back and waited for J-Paw to follow. J-Paw hesitated. Tigerstar and Hawkfrost had offered to give him what he wanted most. J-Paw! Spotted Leaf called more urgently. He had to choose between the cat he knew, the cat he instinctively trusted, those he didn't. He turned and followed Spotted Leaf. As she led him back through the mist, he glanced over his shoulder. Tigerstar's eyes blazed like fire even after his pelt had been swallowed by the gloom. Spotted Leaf broke into a run, and J-Paw raced after her. His paws carried him lightly through the shadowy forest until the trees became leafier. Their branches dipped once more to brush the undergrowth. Fern tips caressed his spine. A feeling of freedom and safety enfolded him once more. Spotted Leaf drew to a halt. You must not go there again, she told him. Why not? J-Paw asked. Tell me why you came to share with StarClan, Spotted Leaf prompted. Resentment jabbed J-Paw's belly. If she wasn't going to answer his questions, then he wasn't going to answer hers. I came because I could, he answered huffily. J-Paw. Spotted Leaf narrowed her eyes. You came to find out where your true destiny lies, didn't you? J-Paw blinked. How did you know? How did you find your way to the moon pool when you are blind? She countered. You gonna answer all my questions with more questions? Spotted Leaf sighed. Sorry, she mewed. But I cannot tell you more than you are ready to know. Ready to know everything, J-Paw insisted. Why does StarClan make it so hard to get answers? Because they fear for you, Spotted Leaf answered, her eyes darkening. J-Paw snorted. Even StarClan were treating him like a helpless kid. Tigerstar and Hawkfrost didn't seem worried about me, he snapped. They'd think I'm destined to be a warrior. Do you trust them? J-Paw remembered the impenetrable mist that had hid the true feelings of the two warriors. I guess not, he mewed hesitantly. Do you trust me? Yes, he murmured. He could sense something inside her, affection tinged with sorrow. Concentrating hard, he tracked the feeling, following it like a shimmering stream. A flame-colored cat, green eyes clouded with grief. It was Firestar. The StarClan cat was in love with the ThunderClan leader? But how could that be? Spotted Leaf had just left the forest long ago, and Firestar had another mate. J-Paw searched further. There was more, he knew, some knowledge obscured by shadows, something he could not name. You have a remarkable gift, she mewed. Her eyes were wary, as though she'd felt him probing her mind. You can see what no other cat sees. You can go where StarClan cannot. You must use this power for the good of your clan. But how? J-Paw asked. You must become a medicine cat, Spotted Leaf meowed. No! He did not want to hear that. He wanted to believe Tigerstar and Hawkfrost. I want to be a warrior. But you have a gift. Seeing in dreams? It's not a gift. The rest of the clan see all the time. But they don't see what you do. They can't go where you go. So I can visit StarClan. Big deal. It is a big deal, Spotted Leaf hissed. Where does it get me? J-Paw argued. The rest of my clan thinks I'm useless. They don't know the power that you have. Power? J-Paw echoed. Spotted Leaf was trembling now. J-Paw, you have the power. You have power enough to shape the destiny of your entire clan. J-Paw stared at her. But I want to be a warrior. Accept your destiny. It's not fair. I know. The medicine cat's voice suddenly grew soft. She brushed his muzzle with her tail, silencing him. J-Paw felt weariness spread through his limbs, dragging him towards sleep. Your gift is not a burden, she whispered, but you must be brave, because it has more power than the sharpest claw. J-Paw tried to fight the sleepiness. There were still questions he wanted answers. He wanted answered. No, he complained weakly as his legs buckled beneath him. J-Paw opened his eyes. The world was black once more, and his body ached with cold. He was lying beside the moon pool. Slowly he got to his paws and stretched. The image of StarClan's hunting grounds was still fresh in his mind as he followed the path out of the hollow. More power than the sharpest claw. When he reached the top, J-Paw glanced over his shoulder. The hollow was filled with starlight. He knew it as surely as if he could see it. The moon pool was radiant beneath the brilliant light, and every rock and stone shone like crystal. The whispering that followed him down to the moon pool rose again, until the voices swirled around him like a relentless wind. Accept your destiny, J-Paw. And in that instant, he realized that however moons he searched, however far he ran, he would never escape what he had known all along. If I were a book, every chapter would be all the reasons why I love you! Sako, you're so cute! Oh, J-Paw. J-Paw's so funny because he's the first, like, cat that, like, really doesn't, like, he's not here for the vague answers. He's like, tell me! And the fact that he has more power than them, and he can, like, probe and, like, look deeper, he's like, tell me or else I'll find out myself. You know? He's, like, so stubborn. It's so fun to see. Because Spotted Leaf is always so composed, and that, like, banter that J-Paw can get out of her is so cool to see. Because you just don't see it. She's always just so, like, knowledgeable and cool and, like, knows everything. And then J-Paw comes in and is like, Spotted Leaf, tell me what's going on. No. Yes! He's so funny. I love him so much. I have been good. I've been sick. I'm still a little sick, so me reading today is a little funny sounding. But I'm getting better. I like him a lot too. J-Paw is my favorite. If you haven't realized already, J-Paw is my favorite. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you feel better soon. Thank you! I'm getting better. Alright. Well, we read 100 pages, technically. How long is chapter 17? Chapter 17 is like... Okay, I'm gonna read chapter 17 just because it pretty much concludes this kind of, this arc that we're seeing in what we're reading today. So we're gonna finish that and then I'll end. Because it's just better. It just ends better. Poor J-Paw. I love that boy. Chapter 17. Hollypaw woke up long before dawn. The walls of the medicine cat den glistened with frost. She had tossed and turned for most of the night, and she knew that she would not be able to go back to sleep. All she could think of was how exciting the battle with ShadowClan had been, and how impossible her apprentice duties had seemed afterwards, when she'd been faced with so many injured warriors. Why did healing seem to involve inflicting more suffering first? She stretched and crept out of her nest. Her body ached. But the bruises and scratches had been worth it to see the ShadowClan warriors fleeing across the border like terrified rats. She glanced at Leafpool, who was still asleep. The medicine cat's breath billowed in the freezing air. Careful not to disturb her, Hollypaw slipped out of the den. The brambles at the entrance were stiff with ice and crackled as she nosed her way out. The clearing was empty. Even the forest was silent, as though the cold had frozen every leaf, and the dawn sky glowed pink behind the frost-whitened branches on the top of the hollow. She looked hopeful towards the fresh kill pile. It was empty. The sudden cold had already driven most of the prey deep into their burrows, and the cats would have to wait until hunger drew them out into the open once more. Perhaps she could find something outside the camp. Ferncloud and her kits would need food once the sun rose. She padded across the clearing and out through the thorn barrier. Brooke paced outside the entrance, her thick fur sparkling with frost. She jerked her head around when she heard Hollypaw's steps. "You're awake early." "I couldn't sleep," Hollypaw yawned. "Has the dawn patrol left yet?" "Not yet. I thought I could find some prey for Ferncloud," Hollypaw explained. Brooke gazed at her curiously. "That's kind, but won't Leafpool need you this morning?" Hollypaw sighed. Such a troubled sigh for one so young. Brooke meowed, her gray eyes softening with concern. "Leafpool would probably get on better without me," Hollypaw muttered. "Surely not," Brooke meowed. "She couldn't have managed to treat everyone without your help yesterday." "She almost had to," Hollypaw confessed. "I was so excited after the battle, I completely forgot that I was a medicine cat apprentice. And then when I tried to help, it was awful. I had to make my clanmates swallow foul-tasting leaves, and the bomb seemed to only make the wound sting more. It didn't feel like I was helping at all." She sat down miserably. "I thought I could serve my clanmates best as a medicine cat. That's why I asked to be Leafpool's apprentice. She's so important to the clan." "You want to be important?" Brooke queried. Hollypaw thought for a moment. It was more complicated than that. Everyone respects Leafpool and listens to what she says. But is being listened to and respected the same as serving your clan? Hollypaw glanced up at the mountain cat. Brooke's eyes were round with sympathy. "I guess not," she mewed. "I just thought it would be the best way to help the clan." "And now you think differently." "I don't think I can help the clan at all as a medicine cat." Hollypaw mewed quietly. "I can't remember the names of herbs. I feel more excited about fighting ShadowClan than fighting sickness, and I'd rather hunt for mice than borage or tansy." Frustration welled inside her. "It's all gone wrong. No cat will ever respect me now." Brooke ran the tip of her tail down Hollypaw's back. "Cats win respect from their clanmates by being loyal and brave, not holding important positions," she meowed. "Did you think Graystripe less important than Brambleclaw when you fought beside him yesterday? Or Lionpaw less important than Leafpool when he helped you drive off the ShadowClan Tom?" "Hi, cat!" Hollypaw shook her head. "It is hard for someone so young to make such a big choice," the mountain cat went on. "When I was with the tribe of Rushing Water, there were no such choices. All duties were divided into hunting or guarding. Prey hunters like me were thin in life. Guards were stocky and strong. The decision was made from birth which duty a cat would perform best." Hollypaw was shocked. "You couldn't choose at all?" It was impossible for a cave guard to be a prey hunter, or a prey hunter to be a cave guard. But generally, it was a good way to make sure each cat made the best use of the strengths they were born with. "I wasn't born with a head for herbs," Hollypaw sighed. "Think of your strengths, not your weaknesses," Brooke urged. "As a clan cat, you have the freedom to shape your own destiny, which tribes cats never have. Use that freedom wisely." "Thank you for the quazzle!" Hollypaw remembered her battle training with Cinderpaw. Every move had come so naturally. Even Cloudtail had been impressed, and in the battle she had known instinctively what she was doing when she had knocked that ShadowClan warrior's paws from under him. "I can fight," she mewed, flexing her claws. "You have warrior strengths," Brooke agreed. "What better way to serve your clan than by being the best warrior you can?" Hollypaw's heart felt lighter than it had for days. "Don't forget, though, you will have to tell Leafpool." Hollypaw sagged a little bit. "Of course." She looked down at her paws. "She'll think I'm letting her down." "Leafpool is wise enough to see where your gifts lie," Brooke meowed. "She will only think you courageous for speaking up now, rather than struggling on out of pride or stubbornness." "You think so?" "You will be doing what is best for your clan. Leafpool will know that." The sound of paw steps inside the thorn barrier warned that the dawn patrol was preparing to leave. Hollypaw blinked gratefully at Brooke. "Thank you," she whispered. Brooke dipped her head and turned back to watch The forest. Hollypaw ducked through the thorn barrier just in time to avoid being swept aside by Graystripe, Sandstorm, and Honeypaw. As they raced out, she knew what she had to do. She would become a regular apprentice like Lionpaw and Jaypaw, and work hard to serve the clan as a warrior. But first she had to tell Leafpool. Stiffening her shoulders, Hollypaw nosed her way into the medicine den. Leafpool was smearing honey onto a leaf. Let's hope the freezing weather breaks soon, she muttered. Longtail and Ice Kid both have sore throats. Hollypaw suddenly felt as if there was a thorn stuck in her chest. She was turning away from something she had set her heart on because she was not good enough. Sadness welled inside her. Should she be giving up so easily? What's wrong, Hollypaw? Leafpool looked up. You look as though you've just lost our entire supply of poppy seeds. Then her face grew serious. You haven't, have you? Hollypaw shook her head. No, but I have something very important to tell you. She forced herself to look her mentor in the eyes. I can't be a medicine cat apprentice anymore, she mewed. Leafpool blinked. Why not? I have to choose my destiny based on my strengths, Hollypaw mewed. I'm just no good at being a medicine cat. You must know that. You are clever and hardworking. You can learn. But it doesn't feel right, Hollypaw tried to explain. She tipped her head to one side. Can you understand? You feel like a fish swimming upstream, Leafpool suggested. Exactly, Hollypaw nodded, her heart aching. If I change directions and swim with the current, I will swim so much faster. So you want to train as a warrior instead? I think it would be better for the clan if I do. Leafpool's eyes clouded with sorrow. I feel as though I've let you down. No! Hollypaw felt a stab of guilt. You've been patient and kind. It's just not right for me. You would have been a good medicine cat, Leafpool flicked her tail. But I see that you want to be the best at whatever you do. I have to be, for the sake of my clan. Leafpool stepped forward and brushed Hollypaw's cheek with her muzzle. You will make a wonderful warrior, Hollypaw, she purred. You have a warrior spirit. I have seen you being noble and loyal and brave, and now I see you sacrificing your ambition for the good of the clan. Her eyes shone. I couldn't be more proud of you. Leafpool's words soothed the grief that pricked like a hedgehog at Hollypaw's heart. I must go tell Firestar so that he can find me a new mentor. There's no rush, Leafpool cautioned. You might want to think about it some more. I've thought about it lots, Hollypaw insisted. I want to sort it out as soon as I can. I'll come with you, Leafpool offered. Thank you. The thought of facing Firestar made her paws itch. What if he thought she was being fickle? Together they padded across the frosty clearing. Leafpool let Hollypaw climb the rockfall first and followed her up. Hollypaw announced her arrival at the den entrance with a nervous mew. Come in. Hollypaw stepped into the cave. The dawn light seeped in behind her, lighting the gloom. Sandstorm was grooming Firestar's ears. She looked up as Hollypaw and Leafpool entered. Firestar drew himself into a sitting position. How is Longtail's throat? He asked. It is not white cough, Leafpool reported. Mousefur insists it's just sore from his snoring. Firestar turned to Hollypaw. What is it? His green eyes were round with concern. You look worried. Hollypaw shifted her weight from paw to paw. What if she was breaking the warrior code in some way? Surely Leafpool would have said something. She took a short, sharp breath. She had to follow her instinct. The clan needed a medicine cat they could rely on, and she knew that wasn't her. I want to be a warrior apprentice, she blurted. I don't think I'm cut out to be a medicine cat. And you think you'd make a better warrior? Firestar guessed, narrowing his eyes. I know I would. Firestar looked at Leafpool. Do you think she's right? I believe this is what she really wants. Leafpool stroked Hollypaw's flank with her tail. She's worked hard at her duties, and I've loved training her, but she feels her strengths lie elsewhere, and this is what she believes, then she will make a better warrior. I'll remember everything Leafpool has taught me, Hollypaw promised. It might be useful one day. Firestar nodded. Very well. Since Leafpool agrees, you can train as a warrior. I'll find you a mentor as soon as I can. Hollypaw looked up at Firestar, wondering if he would say more, but he was gazing wordlessly at her. He must be trying to think of a suitable mentor. She turned and began to head past Leafpool out of the entrance. It must have taken her a lot of courage to do this, Firestar called after. It must have taken a lot of courage to do this, Firestar called after her. I'm very proud of you. She glanced back at the ThunderClan leader. Thank you, she mewed. She leapt down into the clearing, her paws alight with relief. Suddenly, she remembered that she had intended to go hunting this morning. Perhaps Lionpaw would come with her. She glanced towards the apprentice den, wondering if he was awake yet, and then she saw J-Paw slipping in through the thorn barrier. Brooke followed him, looking relieved. From the way he stumbled wearily into the clearing, Hollypaw guessed her brother had been out all night. She hurried over to him as Brooke padded towards the warrior den to get some well-earned sleep. "You look exhausted," she mewed. "Where have you been?" J-Paw's eyes were bleary and his fur unkempt. "I'll explain later," he mewed. "I have to see Firestar." "You should get some sleep first," Hollypaw advised. "Besides, Firestar is busy talking to Leafpool." "I have to see her too." What was he talking about? Had something happened? Alarm shot through Hollypaw's tail, making it twitch. J-Paw tripped as he tried to climb the tumble of rocks up into Firestar's cave. "Let me help," Hollypaw offered. "You're too tired to manage alone." For once, J-Paw didn't object. Hollypaw's anxiety grew stronger, but she bit her tongue. He was obviously determined to speak to Firestar, and she wasn't going to waste time arguing. Instead, she laid her tail over his shoulders and guided him up the rock fall. At the ledge outside Firestar's den, Hollypaw announced her arrival at once more. "Back already?" Firestar called her inside. He looked surprised to see J-Paw with her, but before he could speak, J-Paw stumbled into the center of the den. He fixed his sightless gaze on Firestar, his stare so intense it seemed as though he could see the ThunderClan leader as clearly as the rest of them could. "I need to train to be a medicine cat," he meowed. Ah! Graystripe's still a lovesick cat? Graystripe, a good old boy. Thank you for the follow, Alexis the Calico Cat! Oh, it's so good! It's so... I still remember the feeling of reading those 2 chapters of... like the eagerness of, like, I was skimming through that chapter when I was first reading it because I knew what was coming. And like, when they both like, she gives up, she wants to be a warrior apprentice and he wants to be a medicine cat apprentice. It was so good. Oh. You didn't like the plot? This is the best. It's the best. I love the 3rd series. I have the book set, but I lost the first book. No! That's so sad. I don't know where mine are, actually. I think my first book... Oh, man, if you could see my first book, it is, like, destroyed. Same with this one. I have the hard copy of Warriors the Sight, and it's been massacred. Because I brought it everywhere. It was like that, you know, like sometimes you have a book that you carry with you and you like, just like if you need to read something, you can just pull out that book. That was my book. I have Yellowfang's secret physical book. Nice. I think I didn't have all of the... My books are all at my mom's house, but I never had all of the second series. Yeah, the second books. I think I only had the first 2, but I had all of the first and all of the 3rd and I guess 2 or 3 of the... Me too! Oh, Ben. Chain Feather, who's that? It's okay. Chapter 18. It's okay. We be knowing. It's not that much of a spoiler. I know it is. Like, the only spoiler that gives is that J-Pod doesn't die before he's made a warrior. I'm doing something young me really wanted to do. I'm slowly getting the books I wanted. Oh, that's so nice. Actually, I've been thinking about doing the same thing. I really want a collection of really old books, like Winnie the Pooh. And when I was really little, I had this little box set of books, like, I forget what they were called, but there was one about, like, chicken soup with rice and Pierre. There was like chicken soup with rice, Pierre, and then 2 others in this really tiny book set. And my grandma had it on her bedside table at her house. And so whenever I went over to her house for a week, I would read it. And I loved them so much. But I have to buy them now. And like Peter Rabbit, those ones. You know that book? Which one? The Pierre one or the chicken soup with rice? I have it so old and faded. Yeah! Yeah! I love them. They're my favorite. The chicken soup with rice. Going once, going twice, going chicken soup with rice. Chicken noodle soup with rice or chicken soup with rice? I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was chicken soup with rice. Man, I love that book. And the drawings in it. So good. Chicken soup and rice! My favorite. Let's look it up. Chicken soup with rice. Oops, I don't want a recipe. Sorry, book. Chicken soup with rice broad book, a book of months. That's right. They were all learning books. The Nutshell Library. The Nutshell Library by Maurice Sendak. And it had alligators all around, which I believe was a counting one. Chicken soup with rice, which was the months. One was Johnny. No, one was Johnny was the counting one. Alligators all around was ABCs. Sorry. Alligators all around was the ABCs. Chicken soup with rice was the months. One was Johnny was counting. Pierre, I don't know what Pierre was. Pierre was naughty. Drink soup with rice, come visitors with boys named John, and survive a scare with a boy who doesn't care. That's it. I just remember he was like, he didn't care about anything. And then eventually he got eaten up. I want to buy it. I want in a broad book hardcover. Is it really tiny? I hope this is a really tiny set. Top reviews. Yes, it's just as I remembered. Oh, I need to buy it. I'm gonna buy it. If cuteness was a country, this feature remote would be the capital. You guys come up with the coolest little pickup lines. They're so cute. One day I'll read the Nutshell Library to you guys, okay? Whoa, to be a child once again. Oh, guys, I'm so sad. We have to wait another week until we read more Warrior Cats. But I have to eat my dinner. And it's probably better. My ears are wet. Soup, you're too nice. Well, we don't have to. You're right. I could technically read again tomorrow. But I can't. I think I should stop for tonight just because I can feel my voice being a little funny. And I know that my reading today has been in a weird tone. I like going to Barnes & Nobles just to see revamped old books I used to read. But I usually get workers, planning for your baby. I know! I get that too. I used to go, we have like Indigo books up in Canada. And I always go into the kids section and I just peruse to see what new kids books there are. And like, what are the old kids books? You have like the Winnie the Pooh gift sets and stuff. Good times. Luckily, they don't talk to me. I'm just like a weirdo. they also have all their like jelly cat stuffed animals in the baby sections there, and like they're so cute. And board games and stuff. Squishmallows. They have a lot of stuff in there actually. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it today because we've wrapped up that like nice little arc of J-Paw and Holly-Paw realizing that they're meant to do something else. No squishmallows. No squishmallows. Guys, did you hear the terrible news? No, I can't tell you now. Squishables. Oh. Squishables. Squishables is different than squishmallows. I'll tell you the sad news about squishmallows then. Unfortunately, they support Israel and not Palestine. It's so sad. Which sucks because I keep on seeing really cute Hello Kitty ones. And I'm like, man, I want to buy this. But I'm like, I can't. I actively know. I actively know! Right? Also, speaking of, there's this app. I retweeted it on my Twitter. It's this app called, I don't know what it's called. It has no in it. Well, that helps stop the wife's addiction to them. I know. I have so many. Actually, behind me, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 behind me. And I know I have a 5th one in another room. They're just so soft. No thanks! Is that it? Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's like an app that will scan whatever, like you scan a product and it will tell you if the brand supports, or if the brand supports Israel and that you shouldn't buy it. It's quite useful. It doesn't have all the brands in yet, but it's really fun to scan things. So what I just go around and I scan things in my house like Which reminds me, there used to be this toy and it was like called like Barcode Warriors or something. I don't forget what it was called, but it was like a Tamagotchi type thing, but it had like a barcode scanner, and then you would like go around and you would like scan things. You would scan barcodes when you go shopping, and then like sometimes there would be like a monster in it, and then you would battle the monster, or there would be like food supplies and stuff in it. I never played it as much as I... Did I actually have one? Maybe I just wanted it. Maybe I just daydreamed about it. I can't remember. Maybe it was just like my ideal game. I wonder if there's a iPhone game like that. iPhone game. That sounds wonky, but fun wonky. Yeah! Phone... No, wait. Mobile game where you scan things. Where you scan barcodes. Barcode monsters on the app. Scanners was weird. Barcode monsters. Oh my god, this is it. It's called Scanners. Barcode scanner games? Question marks. These are people brainstorming. There is barcode monsters. Oh my god, this is so funny. It's like... Aww. Somebody's barcode monsters. It looks like they might have made this for like a school project or something. It's very simple, and all the monsters are just named monster number 1, monster number 2, and they're all like hand-drawn drawings. They look like a kid's drawing, and they've been like hand-drawn and then scanned onto the computer. It's so cute. So charming. Speaking of, I've been playing Garden Up. I got it recently. Cordy gave it to me. Gardenin'! And it's really fun. It's actually a lot more interactive than I thought it was gonna be, because Raven told me that it was a lot more like Chillquarium, which is pretty idle. You just like buy fish and then feed them and then leave and then come back and then sell them. But Garden Inn, it's like, yeah, it's like you get like this 3D room with like items, and then you have to plant plants in pots, and then you can like hybrid the plants to get new seeds, and then you plant those plants in pots, and then you water them, and then you unlock like things for your house and like more plant pots. And that's the game. It's really cute. But it needs more, like, they need to be watered pretty regularly, and they need to be like sometimes they get pesticides and you have to spray them. And if they don't have water and they have, or if they have pesticides, then you can't, they don't grow, and then it's sad because then you don't get your items. Also, there's this new game that's coming out soon, and it's like, it's called, let me read it. A Twitch-powered interactive cozy fishing game. Add as an overlay for your stream and let your viewers fish with commands, points, bits, or subs. Boost viewer engagement passively with fun interaction. It's basically like an overlay game thingy that I can set up for you guys. And it'll like, when you guys like use the command or whatever, the little thing will pop up in a corner, and then you guys can like be fishing. It looks really cute. It comes out next month. I'm so excited for it. So yeah, you guys can like just like be fishing, and then you can see like the list of fish that we have, how many fish we've gotten. I think there's 90 fish that you can find. And then you can like, you get money, and I don't know what you can buy with the money. Maybe like buy better fishing rods or something. Or maybe, I think maybe the how much gold you get, like every time you catch a fish, you get gold, and then there's a leaderboard. So you can see who has got the best fish. And I can add my own custom catches, so they can be like legendary catches, like random things. It'll be really exciting. I'm so excited for it. Okay, sorry, that was... I was supposed to end, but then I got distracted by many things. So now I'm gonna end. We'll end, and I don't know, maybe depending how I'm feeling tomorrow, I might just read more because I want to. Or we'll play Baldur's Gate. It depends on how I'm feeling and how things are feeling, because actually, where's my phone? I wasn't called in exactly. I was asked if I could come in tomorrow, and then I said that I could come in the morning, but I didn't get a reply. So if I don't get a reply, then I'm gonna assume that I'm not coming in. Do whatever excites you the most. Dang it. That's so tricky because I love both of them. Nona will end the stream one day. Maybe one day. I'm not quite sure when day. One day? Wednesday? Also, I forgot that I have that chibi to finish rigging. I have to finish that chibi. It looks so cute! I have to do it! Okay. Okay. Oh, I can't even use my thingamajig. My stream deck disconnected from my Twitch, so I can't look for a place to raid. So we're not raiding today. The raid is to go to bed. That's the raid. Yeah, my pizza! I'll have to warm it up now. It's probably cold. Thanks for the cozy. Enjoy floating. Get some good rest. Thank you. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Unless it's no. I'll see you tomorrow. Either boulders or more cats. Maybe here. Look, I can say more cats because we missed 2 weeks. We missed 2 weeks of reading. So technically, I'm just catching up. You know? You know? Thank you for the croissant! Awesome! I'll see you guys